Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, today we are going to be jumping to 2002 with the third film, the third theatrical film at least, by M. Night Shyamalan. We're going to do Signs. Probably not everybody's first guess on what we're going to be doing first for Shyamalan, but no, it was a summer blockbuster in August of 2002, and it's worthy of the podcast.
Sixth Sense, which was his, breakout and his surprise blockbuster in August of 1999. We could have easily done that one. In some ways, it's obviously a far more iconic movie than Signs. But what's interesting, it's kind of funny because then his next movie, which was a holiday movie, which was not a box office smash and kind of a disappointment, was Unbreakable, right? That one, people, I guess, there's hope that it would be like another blockbuster. It was placed right there in the middle of the holiday season.
Yep.
And it never quite took off, at least at the box office. But it's garnered a lot of followers since.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Unbreakable.
With a much delayed sequel, right?
Yeah. Two sequels.
Yes.
Two much delayed sequels.
A surprise sequel.
Yes.
Right?
A surprise sequel and then a sequel to that sequel.
It wouldn't be M. Night Shyamalan if he pulls a surprise like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Signs came along a couple years after that, and the big hit in the summer of 2002. A big part was that it had Mel Gibson as the lead before he kind of fell out of favor with a lot of people and he went kind of crazy. I still love you, Mel. I mean, Apocalypto and Passion of the Christ. You've done some great movies since then. But anyway, and partially also because it's kind of a well done, almost, it's well done. It's like an understated kind of thriller in the middle of the summer. And it's funny looking back at it because at the time, people had a few complaints about it. And I think it's fallen out of favor with some people in the last 20 years or so. But, it's kind of the last kind of bona fide hit. I guess maybe argue Split was a hit, but for a while.
Yeah.
Because his next movie, The Village, was a movie that people kind of were looking forward to because the trailers for that were really good. Yeah. And then people saw it.
People saw it, and then the twist in that one, people weren't really fans of. Although that was so, I actually enjoyed The Village quite a bit.
I think it's good. There are definite weaknesses to it.
Yes, there are definite weaknesses to it.
And there's a lot.
Overall, I enjoyed it.
There's a lot about Shyamalan's movies. On the whole, if you look at everything, there's a lot to like. I think after Signs, you see his weaknesses really come up a lot in some of the movies, most of the movies. And then they don't quite hit the same. And some of it is maybe he's trying too hard, I think.
Yeah. I mean, most of his movies, he likes to have a twist at the end. So, I mean, you're expecting it. So it's not really as surprising as the first couple of movies were.
He has a knack for filming things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how he sets things up and perspective.
Yeah.
In building things. I think some of his movies work better when they're smaller scale. But even the movie like Lady in the Water is like the idea of it I kind of like in terms of, about storytelling. He likes to tell stories. And the story here is really, really good. I mean, the story in Unbreakable is really, really good too because I love Unbreakable also. Yeah. It's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah. Unbreakable is my favorite Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, it's my favorite also, without a doubt. And we probably should do it someday because we're also, as we talked about in Looper, big Bruce Willis fans.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's kind of it's like a Bruce Willis role, but it's also not really a Bruce Willis role.
Yeah.
It's interesting because he had Bruce Willis for both Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Now he leans into kind of another action-oriented star. In some ways, though, like Mel Gibson, more accustomed to a dramatic role.
Yeah.
Than kind of what Bruce Willis was kind of doing there with his earlier films.
Now, this was kind of right in the middle of Shyamalan's series of using the same actor for two movies in a row. And then...
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because you had Sixth Sense and Unbreakable both had Bruce Willis. Then Signs and The Village both had Joaquin Phoenix. And The Village and Lady in the Water both had Bryce Dallas Howard.
Paul Giamatti did not show up in The Happening.
No, he did not. So yeah, The Happening is kind of where things changed, where he kind of stopped using one actor from one movie into the next one.
Mark Wahlberg appeared in The Happening, and he's like, no, I'm not doing another one after that.
That happened, and now it's done.
Surprised John Leguizamo didn't show up, but anyway.
Who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll do The Happening just because.
That would be a good, if we ever can do a live stream one and we're drinking.
Yeah.
We should just live stream it while watching it.
Yeah. Do our own little commentary on it.
That's a movie. Anyway. by the way, there is nothing happening in the happening. Save for people walking into lions' dens and
climbing and then laying down in front of giant lawnmowers.
Calculus.
Yes, calculus. For some reason, just calculus. Oh.
All right.
But of course, we didn't spoil anything of the movie because that's all in the trailer. So.
Yeah.
But back to Signs.
We've already seen the meme where Mark Wahlberg talks to a houseplant.
Yes. Talks to a plastic ficus tree.
Yeah. Is that a ficus?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Back to Signs.
Back to Signs.
I should have watched the trailer before this because,
Oh, yeah. That'd be
I was
a good
excited
idea.
to see this when it came out because I liked The Sixth Sense. I loved Unbreakable. And it was interesting, you're kind of wondering how they were going to go and take things because they were talking about crop circles. And at that point, most people knew that, the whole thing was a hoax. But they're kind of playing with what's going on with it, right? So, yeah, I was very intrigued when I first saw this. This is 22 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And, at that point, Shyamalan people still respected him. So,
yeah. And I saw this one in 2002 in the theater. I saw it with my sister and a couple of friends. And yeah, this is actually the first Shyamalan movie that I had seen all the way through.
Okay.
Because before this, I'd seen maybe half of Sixth Sense, and then I hadn't seen Unbreakable yet.
Okay. Interesting.
So this is the first one that I saw all the way through.
I might have seen it with your sister and Jesse Bukovich, because I saw it once and I saw it again in theaters. Okay. I know the second time I definitely saw it with Jesse. Yeah. So it's very possible Jenny was there as well.
Yeah, probably.
So.
Yeah, if Jesse was there, Jenny probably was too.
Yeah, because I know it wasn't just the two of us. There were other people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And, yeah, I mean, I loved it the first time I saw it. It's interesting watching it again because I was trying to think about, okay, how long has it been? I remember having the Vista series DVD on it.
Yep.
And
I still have the Vista series DVD.
But I don't know. Mine got lost somewhere along the way. And it's been a long time since I've actually ever having that copy. So I would say it's been like 15 years, but it feels like when I was rewatching it, like most of this is still pretty fresh to me. Maybe it's because I'd saw it so many times in those 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe I get caught at another point along the way, but I don't know. And it's funny because it's not a long movie. It's no,
it's not. It's an hour and 47 minutes, something like that.
It's a very kind of understated movie, and so like there's action in it, but like a lot of it's just kind of it moves along, but it lingers on a lot of things too.
Yeah. Now the Vista series DVD, my copy, it kind of holds a special place in my heart, just because.
Same with mine.
When I bought it, so I was at Blockbuster, and their new movies. Like their new for sale movies section, because they would actually have new movies. I mean, they jack up the prices because it's Blockbuster, but because, you're there to rent movies, not to buy them. So anytime they had a new movie for sale, then it was always like $5-10 more expensive. Yeah. But I remember this because it was a Sunday, because new DVDs always came out on Tuesdays.
Yes.
And it was the Sunday before Signs came out. So Signs was supposed to come out on Tuesday, and they had it on that Sunday.
Okay.
So I saw it. I'm like, hey, this movie doesn't come out for 2 more days. I'm going to buy it. So I bought it, and it's one of the few movies that I've ever found that was actually available on the shelf before it was actually officially available to buy.
All right. I might buy it right now. There's 4 copies left in stock on Amazon.
Oh.
$20.
Okay.
I had to watch it on Max.
Yeah, I watched it on Max also because it's. I mean, I did that just because it's actually HD on there instead of because I still just have the DVD, so I wanted to watch it in the better quality. So I watched it on Max. Otherwise, I would have popped in the DVD. But.
I had the Vista series of Unbreakable also, and that was a thick case.
Yeah, it was.
The Signs one was the thin case, right? Yep. At some point, people liked having the thick case DVDs. Mm-hmm. It's like anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well get it anyway. I'm a proponent of having physical copies too.
Physical media, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Do not let the physical media die.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, definitely, like I said, the DVD holds a special place, and like I probably watched your copy at some point when you weren't home. It's like I want Saturday afternoon in the app.
Probably. I mean, we probably watched my copy together at one point. Yeah. But
we did a Shyamalan night with Unbreakable and Signs. Who knows? Anyway,
we watched so many movies together in that apartment. They all kind of bleed together now.
So, anyway, So it's funny, like one of the things I didn't really remember, but then it came back, I was watching it, that was the opening credits.
Yeah.
And the James Howard score, right?
Yeah.
And of course it's kind of quiet and then gets loud and then the music really picks up. And it's very Hitchcockian.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, very, very
You're going
Hitchcockian.
through the credits, you're actually going through the credits of the names and everything. It's not going over happening in the action. It's just like
just going through the names.
Placard and then the names and then the music is just,
the coloring, the font, everything is very Hitchcockian. But here, before we get on with the movie, spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen. If you have seen the movie or you just don't mind being spoiled, then keep on listening.
That's right.
Continue, Tony.
So James Howard is his score, right? And, he's a famous composer, right? He's not John Williams, right? But most people probably would know a James Howard score if they heard it.
Yeah.
They might not know the name, but just like Danny Elfman, people know his music, even if they don't know his name.
Yep.
He's done what? Pretty Woman, The Fugitive, Unbreakable for Shyamalan, right? The Village, Batman Begins, Dark Knight. I was looking also at how many times he's been nominated for an Oscar. And I kind of laughed at some of his nominations because he's been nominated 9 times. He's actually been nominated kind of recently, which I didn't realize. What was the movie a few years ago? News of the World with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, he was nominated for an Oscar for that. That's only a few years ago, right?
Yep.
Been a long time. He had like a 12-year gap because Defiance, the Daniel Craig movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, he wasn't nominated for Signs. He was nominated for The Village. He was also nominated for My Best Friend's Wedding. But he has 2 nominations for Best Original Song. First one was in George Clooney, Michelle Pfeiffer movie, One Fine Day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Rom-coms, they have original songs.
I've seen that movie way too many times.
Don't tell me that.
Not by choice. My sisters loved that movie when I was growing up.
My favorite nomination of his, though, was Junior. Best original song for Look What Love Has Done.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would... I don't know if I could have told you that was from the movie, originally from the movie Junior.
Yeah, we need to do some 80s and 90s non-Terminator Arnold movies.
We could just do Twins and Junior.
Yes.
I really want to do Kindergarten Cop.
Yes. Well, we're definitely doing Kindergarten Cop one of these days.
I know.
But yeah, you do Twins and Junior, do the Schwarzenegger DeVito movies.
You do, there's a lot to be done.
Oh yeah.
We want to do like holiday movies. There's Jingle All the Way.
Yes, there is.
Anyhow, the James Howard score. But yeah, great score, great way to start the movie. And then, it just, the first thing we see, I love how they set it up. You kind of hear a scream and, they establish the setting. Like the movie itself is, it's fun. Like, it could be almost done like a play.
Yeah, it really could.
This is really just the setting of the farmhouse.
Yep.
And the surrounding area. You get some of the cornfield and the yard.
There's not a whole lot of plot that happens outside of the farm.
You have the vet's house, and then you get some of the stores in town, which would also just easily be done as one set.
Yep.
Right? You get the recruiting office, you get the pizzeria, you get the pharmacy.
Yep.
Right? You can do all of that as one set because it's all one scene, essentially. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And then you get the flashbacks on the road. That's it. Everything else is in and around the house. And he establishes that entire set, scene, very quickly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of wakes up, hears the scream. Right, and then see his room. You see him brushing his teeth. And I love even the idea of it. Like it's kind of a sparse room, right? You see a couple pictures of a family. There's a space on the wall where you can tell it used to be a cross.
Yep.
Right, but it's taken down, right, because that area of the wall has been faded because it's been hanging up there, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been pretty recent too. So, and then you see a kid's room after he hears the scream.
Yeah, so already, without having anybody utter a word, unless you want to count the scream as online, but but with just already the first 30 seconds of the movie, they've already established so much just from this this initial establishing shot. They've already shown.
We hear.
There's some reason why a cross was taken off the wall. There's a family living in this house, probably not super happily at the moment.
Right. Well, I guess he wakes up first. We don't really see it because like the scream comes a little bit after he wakes up.
Yeah, he wakes up.
And you kind of look at him. He's like, okay, yeah. He seemed. I mean, even just his body language, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell, and he's just kind of brushing his teeth. And part of it's even just the color tone that they film this in, right? It's kind of muted, not bright colors, right? It gives you that sense that there's a heavy air in the house.
Yeah, which I mean, is right up Shyamalan's alley. He's always been big on colors and using the colors in the movie to really show what is going on in that part.
Because then, he's brushing his teeth, and then, again, like, it's just one man, you get to hold it's a big master bedroom, but, like, it's sparse, it's empty feeling, right? It's not welcoming. Mm-hmm. So he's brushing his teeth, he hears the scream, he stops brushing his teeth, and he goes across, like, the hall. You can tell there's a kid's room, right? And there's a lot of things, it's interesting, like, it's a family movie, right? Talk about it being a kid's room, and it's different than some of the kids' movie rooms we see in other movies, right? Where there's sports posters or movie posters and all this. None of that's really there. Right?
No.
You can tell multiple kids occupy this one room. Then you see another man wake up to it. He falls out of his bed. He's kind of living in an apartment in like the loft of a barn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got someone else that's kind of living there. You establish that, right? And then, they kind of come down together, and it's Mel Gibson and then Joaquin Phoenix. And it's not really established yet, but they're brothers.
Yep.
It's funny how convincing they are as brothers.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
And they do a great job. The other thing they do a really good job of selling with it is that you can tell like there's a definite age gap within them.
Yeah. And there are parts of this movie, right, that so we talked about this at length in the Gladiator episode about how fantastic of an actor Joaquin Phoenix is.
Oh yeah.
But there are a few scenes in this movie where his acting skill really shows.
Yes.
Like he holds his own sharing the screen with Mel Gibson.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, this is, did he do? This is a couple years after Gladiator, which he received an Oscar nomination for, right? Rightfully so. Oh, he's turning 50 this year.
Huh.
So, he would have been not quite 30 when this was released.
Remember when he was like 10 years old in Space Camp.
Yeah. He's with Rooney Mara now. Anyway, Quills probably was around the same time. This would have been probably the first big movie that he actually was like cast in following Gladiator, right? So, because he was, again, he was a name before Gladiator, and part of that's because of his brother.
Yeah.
To be honest. But, he's finally getting his like studio recognition now, right? He's been in a bunch of independent movies. So, and he showcases it well here because, again, he's one of the leads, but he's not the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And even like right away, like you could tell, like, they're trying to figure out, about where the scream's coming from. The kids aren't there. They're not in their room. They're not in the house. They're not in the yard, right? Because we see they established it's a playground. There's an outdoor like barbecue pit, right? They're not around. And they can kind of tell finally that it comes from deep in the cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
They do a good job. It's funny. Like, it's not like Children of the Corn or Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
With the corn, but like, no, they it's utilized really, really well, this movie. The cornfield.
Yeah. So
they stumble upon the daughter.
Bo. So they go out into the, between a couple of rows of corn, and they look down, and the little girl walks out of the corn and just stands there, and it's Bo, his daughter. And so,
are you in my dream too?
Yeah.
She has so many. It's funny. She has so many creepy lines, but she's not creepy.
Yeah. She has a ton of creepy lines throughout the movie, but she's not a creepy kid. That's
what I like about it's like
Abigail Breslin and this is her first role, wasn't it?
I think so. Some movies just give you creepy kids, but no, like she's a cute like 5-year-old girl, right? There's other parts where she's perfectly just like a 5-year-old girl, but then she just occasionally gets these really creepy lines.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see, like, do they say how old she is in the movie?
I don't think so.
I'm looking at the screenplay. Maybe they have. Let's see. And then a little girl. Anyway, no, it does say she's 4. Okay.
The
screenplay says she's 4.
Okay.
I said 5. Okay. Whatever. I can buy it. Right, but she's there, and she's and they look down, and he gets down on his knees, and you get they feels very fatherly. It's like,
Yeah, he's like, "Are you hurt?" Or
Yeah, Is he already hurt? And then he looks at, what does he say? He's like, where's Morgan? Which actually could be a name for a boy or a girl, right?
Yeah.
And then she looks around, she finally answers, like, are you in my dreams too? Right? And then Mel Gibson's like, this isn't a dream.
Yeah.
Right?
So then
But like, it's kind of a creepy line.
Yeah. So then he goes through the corn to find Morgan.
You hear a boy's voice say, Dad! Right?
Yeah.
You know, and then you hear dogs barking as well, right? They go over and they find him, and then he seems fine. He's like 10.
Yeah, but so I love this part because so Mel Gibson, Graham is his character's name, Graham Hess. He goes up to Morgan and he's looking at Morgan, who is staring straight ahead of him, staring straight ahead, like toward the camera.
Yes.
And so Mel Gibson's looking at Morgan, played by Rory Culkin.
The youngest of the Culkins.
Yes, the youngest of the Culkins, Macaulay's little brother. And then Joaquin Phoenix, Meryl, and Bo, Abigail Breslin, come walking up, and they're staring straight ahead the same direction as Morgan. And no one's saying a word, but Mel Gibson's still looking right at Morgan. He's asking him if he's okay, if he's hurt, all that. And then Morgan just reaches up, grabs Mel Gibson's chin, and turns his head.
He's like, I think God did it.
To look in the same, he's like, I think God did it. And he grabs his chin, turns his head toward where everybody else is looking.
And he realizes, like, he's in, like, a big clearing now in the middle of his cornfield.
And it's just, it's one of those things, like, you could tell right there, Graham had tunnel vision, right? He's wanting to make sure his son's okay. He's running out there. His focus is 100% on his son. He
doesn't realize that he's not in the middle of he's in the middle of the cornfield now, but it's actually, like, a clearing within the middle of the cornfield.
Yeah.
And the corn stalks are bent over, right?
Yeah. So they take a couple of steps into that new clearing that's been formed, and they're right in the middle of a crop circle.
Right. And that's the thing, right? Yeah. And we kind of get the aerial view, you stand up and, we see all of them. We see 2 dogs running around. Poor dogs.
Yeah.
We thought after the first one gets it, the second one might survive. No.
Yeah. But so Morgan is like, basically, he says, the dogs are barking. It woke us up. And they walk out there. And then they get sort of, after they walk out into the circle, then, the camera kind of pans up to a helicopter shot that is a little bit grainy, kind of looks like news footage.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I like that little aspect of it. Yeah,
me too. Because they could have just done like your general helicopter shot where it just zooms out a little bit. It's still just as clear as everything else, but it kind of changes that sort of grainy news footage look.
Which is important because the news footage becomes an important part of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny looking back at this. There's a couple reasons with the entire movie, right? It's a very overtly a faith type of movie, right?
Yes, very much so.
Wears it on its sleeves. I think some people at the time kind of didn't like that aspect of it, and that's fine if they don't. I do think that might be part of the reason that it hasn't held up for some, especially how it ties in with the twist at the end, or one of the twists at the end. Again, that's fine. It's also interesting looking back at this now, given that, especially, we kind of have that experience because, by the time this, we came out, what? I just graduated high school. You were going into senior year, right?
Yep.
So we have kind of a full range of things. Like this movie comes out 11 months after 9/11, right?
Yeah.
An event that people were glued to TVs about footage of things, right? And even beyond that, like that wasn't really 9/11 wasn't the first event where people kind of got glued to what was going on, right?
Yeah.
But even like Columbine was an example. The whole Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton scandal, where you're constantly clicking through news, and it's something that just had its 30th anniversary.
OJ Chase
Was the OJ Chase, right? All these things, right? And now, when you look back at it now, I was thinking about this, like, okay, if this was to come out today, like these events that happen now kind of get captured more within tweets or TikTok videos and Facebook posts.
That's the thing, though. The movie,
people send text messages about these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even then, that's the other thing. Is like, okay, now you would text people about this thing that's happening.
Yeah. This was 2002. This was before texting was really a thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
most people at this point kind of had cell phones, but they took very grainy photos and you could make phone calls with them.
Yeah. Yeah. There were no smartphones at this time. There were no.
They weren't bricks anymore.
True. I mean, you could fit one in a pocket if you've had a decent sized pocket.
Right. But now, like, so many things are actually spread also just through text messages. Like, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Some of this news probably would have reached them a lot quicker. Anyway, I thought that was another interesting way to kind of filter through it, because it is a movie that also just very much relies on just kind of being kind of hooked into what actually is happening. And, again, there's another movie that we did in this series of blockbusters, Independence Day, another alien invasion type movie. And again, we see newscasts of these ships coming in.
Yeah.
But that movie, it's taking a global look at this thing that's happening. And again, signs, as we'll find out later, there's a global event happening. But this time, we're only really seeing within perspective, one farm.
One farm. Not even like all of Bucks County.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes place on a farm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
You pretty much get the opinion of it of 4 other people that are not in that household.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess maybe more. I mean, there's some newscasters, but in terms of actual characters in this movie, there's about 4 other characters that say anything else. Well, 5. I'm sorry, 5. Because of the pharmacy.
Yeah, the pharmacy worker girl.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to her. So yeah, it's gonna dive into that, and it's just kind of fascinating to look back at that now in terms of how they were able to consume this information about this event. And think about how would a family of 4 today consume that information.
Yeah.
I also love that they drive a 90s Taurus in this movie. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You can even tell, we'll get to it soon, but it's got the middle seat in the front.
Yes, it does.
There's no console in the center.
You don't find that anymore. You don't find that nowadays.
I loved that seat as a kid.
Yep, me too. I don't know why, but it was the best seat in the car.
Yeah. Anyway, so we cut away from like the helicopter perspective, and now he's back on the phone. He's talking to someone on the phone, and he's thinking someone local just did it that was messing with him.
Yeah, some local
that's a
kids,
reasonable Yeah, and he's really calling, I guess, a friend of his about his son,
Lionel Pritchard and his friends. He thought that they're the ones who did it.
And they found out they were at the movies, right? That they couldn't have done it last night. They wouldn't have had time. So he gets off the phone. He says thank you, and he's just he's confused. He's kind of concerned, and then he goes in the kitchen, and the kids are there, and one of the dogs is there, and there's pee on the floor. And he's like, Morgan's like, I think Houdini's sick. Like he peed.
Houdini peed. I think he's sick. And so he's like, okay, I'll call the doctor. It's like, but he doesn't handle animals. It's like, yeah, but he'll know what to do.
There's a reason he doesn't want to talk to the vet. There's a vet in town.
Yes. But there's a huge reason why he doesn't want to talk to the vet.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah. But so then the sheriff comes over, Officer Paskey.
Yes.
Played by Cherry Jones.
The sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, the sheriff's deputy. Played by
Cherry Jones. She may have showed up on another...
yeah, she was also in the village.
That's right. Yes. Thank you. And he talks about, I only called you 2 hours ago. Okay, so I forgot to mention, so as it's showing that the overhead from like the helicopter view, it says it's in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
45 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
And so, Bucks County is one of those counties that, those areas that the further areas of it are very rural, and you get closer, it's very suburban, right? And especially like early on, a lot of the Shyamalan movies took place in or near Philadelphia.
Yep, because that's where Shyamalan's from.
I think a few of the more recent movies he did not place in Philly or around Philly. Anyway, but they established quickly, he's in some small town in a rural area outside of Philly.
Yep.
And most people kind of know each other, just very classic small town.
Small town. Everybody knows everybody.
Because she mentioned why, she wasn't there. You can tell, she's probably one of 2 or 3 deputies, right? And they probably got a lot of things, and talks about how Mrs. Kindleman.
Yes, Mrs. Kindleman.
twisted her ankle because some kids rode down the street in skateboards.
Yes.
Those damn kids and their skateboards.
Yes, those kids and their skateboards.
It's 2002. You should be used to skateboards by now, Mrs. Kindleman.
Yeah.
This is not
and
the
those
80s.
Those kids should have been rollerblading, not skateboarding. It was 2002.
2002. Get with the program. Now skateboarding, of course, is back again, and rollerblading has kind of come back again. It's together, and scooters also, I guess. But anyway, scooters are more really for us. You gotta get the electric scooters and listen to
those old people that don't have the energy we used to have.
I got surprised talking about all this. Is like I wear no show socks, right? Now apparently kids want to wear like high socks.
Yeah.
When we were in middle school and high school, you didn't dare wear.
No, you didn't dare wear tube socks. Or if you did, you did not pull them all the way up.
Yeah. Maybe in the winter, if you had long pants, but no, spring, fall. If you were in shorts,
Mm-hmm.
Even jeans, you made sure they probably weren't all the way up because in case your pants kind of rode up a little bit. Anyway.
See, I've always been a crew sock guy, but I never pulled them all the way up. I always wear crew socks and then sort of push them down to where they're just above.
That's mostly how I did it back then.
To where they're just above the top of the shoes. But I'm not a fan of the no-show ankle socks.
Okay.
Because my ankles just feel naked. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Anyway. So Officer Paskey keeps talking. Then Mrs. Kindleman decides to go down to the hardware store. The hardware store here sells skateboards, by the way.
Yes.
But it's a small town, so it can make sense.
It makes sense that the hardware store would sell more than just hardware items.
It's fun. I have an Ace Hardware in my neighborhood, and it's kind of like Ace Hardware sells a lot more than just tools.
Yeah, in a small town like this, a hardware store is more or less like a general store.
Exactly. So she's just spitting on all the new skateboards.
Mm-hmm. Starts spitting
She must have had a cold or something because she's not going to eat for a week.
She starts spitting on all the skateboards.
I love how she does it. Cherry Jones is a small role. She has 2 or 3 scenes, and she does. She's terrific.
Yeah.
you buy her at she's like a middle-aged woman that's a deputy in this small town.
Yeah,
in a rural area. You get just completely believable. She's awesome in it. So okay, so what happened to your crops, right? And then we cut outside, and the kids are kind of at the grill and.
Well, no, first they're talking, she was saying that the dogs in the area were starting to act strange, that they were starting to get real aggressive. Not like rabies or anything like that, but they sense something. Sense a predator. Like when they sense a predator. And they had 2 German Shepherds, Houdini and Isabel. And, so that gets Graham kind of thinking.
And
because what does it is because they're she mentions that the dogs in the area are getting real aggressive and peeing on themselves, and that sort of clicks in Graham's head because
she was talking to some other farmer in the area, right? And he realizes he hasn't heard his kids. They're outside now. They're examining the crops. They come back and they see that Graham has killed the dog.
No, Graham hasn't. Morgan did.
Morgan has. But
Morgan is sort of kneeling down next to the dog. The dog's laying he's got the grill fork. It's
the first time we've seen him with his inhaler. We know he has asthma. He says that he tried to attack Bo, and Bo was kind of sticking on the playground. She's kind of
Houdini fell on me. He was trying to kill Bo.
Right. And what we ended up seeing was that they were trying. They had chicken and some sausages, grilling, right? Morgan's like, Dad's gonna burn these again. And it's true. He's in the house talking to the deputy, and then out in the crops, and he's not paying attention. Right. His mind's occupied. And then Bo has a glass of water, and then she doesn't want to drink it. And she's like, "It's contaminated.
It's contaminated."
That becomes a thing with her about the water. Always something wrong with the water. And those little lines,
but.
How? Houdini. And then she's like, she doesn't want to. He's like, he licks his butt. I don't think he's going to mind if it's contaminated.
Oh, yep. But yeah, so Graham comes over, finds Morgan next to Houdini. And Houdini's got the grill fork stuck in him because Morgan had to put the dog down because he was attacking Bo.
Yep.
Or he was trying to attack Bo. And so he's protecting his little sister, which then comes back later also, the whole protecting his little sister thing.
Yes, we will get that.
Yeah. So, Graham helps Morgan up and he's like, did he hurt you? Again, making sure his kids are okay. And he goes and, Bo is kind of sitting up on a little jungle gym, sort of curled up. So he picks her up and takes her inside. Yeah.
There is one other point that I almost forgot from the conversation that Graham is having with the officer is that she keeps calling him father.
Yes. She keeps calling him father and he keeps telling her.
And then before they go back to find the kids, he says, stop calling me father.
Stop calling me father. That's important.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, and then, as they're out there, and then finally, Meryl, his brother, Joaquin Phoenix, comes out, and he's got stuff for, dinner, and he's like, where were you? And he seems kind of confused, and he sees the dogs. Obviously, like, they are dead.
Yeah. So then he tells Meryl to go tie Isabel up behind the shed and make sure the knot's really tight.
Tight. Yep. And now we're at nighttime, and
so yes, and then they're in town.
But not in town yet, because they're going in at night, right? And they do a good job of establishing it. Like, it's nighttime out in the country, you hear the crickets, and the entire time the music just kind of sets the tone that, okay, it's a little foreboding, it was all these things.
And this is one of those movies where there's not a whole lot of music, like, throughout.
No.
It's just little bits and pieces. You get some of the score coming in, but there's a lot of just quiet scenes.
Yeah, and you just get the house, and you tell they're isolated. And it's funny because they're physically isolated because it's a farmhouse in the country.
Yeah.
They're in a rural area. But they've isolated themselves off. And we're going to find out why. And in some ways, they've kind of isolated themselves off from each other.
Yeah.
For a good reason, right? And you see him, you see Graham in his room, and like he kind of, he hasn't fallen asleep, but he's just kind of in his bed at night, and Bo's in there, and he's like, "What's the matter?"
He wakes, he opens his eyes, and he's like, "What's the matter?" And Bo's standing right in his face. And I've always
monster outside my window. Can I have a glass of water?
Yeah, no pause between the two. Just there's a monster outside my room. Can I have a glass of water? It's like. Yeah.
Again, it's one of those creepy lines, but it's not sold in a creepy way. Like, it's sold in this 4-year-old type of way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what?
Like, these two things that she's talking about are, like, of equal importance.
Yes. And he just thinks, oh, okay, yeah, she had a dream. Or she saw a shadow. That's the monster. Yeah. Right? Because, she's 4.
Yeah. So he takes her back to bed and looks out the window and sees something standing there on the roof.
Well, even before that, he puts her in bed, they're talking, and so she's talking. They're sitting in the bed, they're going back and forth, and she asks, like, why do you talk to Mom? And he says it helps me feel better. And then she says, well, does she answer you back? And he says, no. Like, she doesn't answer me either. And so now you got this other clue that gets dropped in there. Like, okay, either you could say maybe she left, but most likely she's dead. Yeah. And then that's when he looks up. Like, she drops this major thing, this 4-year-old saying that she talks to her dead mother, essentially. Yeah. And not in a way that's like she's talking to this apparition of her, just missing her mom. Yeah. And that she doesn't get an answer. That maybe she's going through a similar type of thing, a way a 4-year-old might go through it, right? But he looks up and there's a figure on the barn across the room. Yeah, looking into the window. It's like fucking Poltergeist. You know, there's clowns, there's trees trying to get the kids. Yeah. So he goes downstairs, gets Meryl, and he's like, it's Lionel Pritchard. He's here. He's back. Yeah. So, like, earlier we saw that Meryl, he sleeps in the loft above the barn. Thankfully, he wasn't sleeping on that
thankfully, he wasn't sleeping in the loft that night. Yeah.
He fell asleep on the couch watching TV.
Yeah.
But this is one of my favorite scenes.
Yes, mine too.
And this is where, like, his acting chops really show up, right?
Yes.
And it's funny, like, it's these two brothers kind of doing things. It's like the younger brother kind of egging things on.
Yeah. So before they go outside, Graham has no idea how to go about this, right? And again, Meryl's telling him
he was a priest. Yes. He's just kind of.
Yeah, he was a priest. He's not used to
an Anglican priest,
letting his anger out and.
And Meryl's like, we both go outside. We're going to move around the house in opposite directions, which makes sense. Like, try to, like, push whoever it is.
Yeah. And we're going to yell. We're going to make noise. We're going to cuss.
We're going to act crazy. I love Gary's like, explain, act crazy. And Meryl's like, curse.
It's curse.
Not just curse. Curse and stuff.
Yeah, curse and stuff.
Even though Mel Gibson was like, I'm not going to curse. It's like, well, you don't mean it. It's just for show. It's like, and I love it too. Though. It's like Mel Gibson. He just says it very casually. Yeah. Both of them in this scene is so terrific. Yeah, it's like it's not a showy scene, but it's like it doesn't sound natural when I curse. I was like, just make noises. Then Graham's like, explain noises. And he's like, are you going to do this? Like, no, I'm not. And I was like, well, you want them coming in? He was like, you want them coming in the house? And finally, they sneak up on the door. Like, okay, we'll go out and kind of quietly, like a 1, 2, 3 type of thing. Right? And then they run out. And I love me. I was like, "We're gonna beat your ass, bitch."
But no, before Meryl says that, you get
I'm
Graham
insane
first.
with anger.
I'm insane with anger. All awkward. He's like running around.
And then they keep running. They keep making noises. And Mel Gibson's like, "It's time. I've lost my mind. It's time for an ass whooping."
Oh,
yeah. You're like, "I'm gonna tear your head off." It's funny because like it almost sounds like how like some high school and college brothers would go about doing this.
Yes, it does. But Mel Gibson sells it. He sells the awkwardness.
Oh, I know.
Of that so well. And
they hear when Meryl's like running it, like he hears one of the trash cans get toppled over, and the motion light goes on. They come together. They both sell it so well, and they meet up and they're confused because they don't see anybody.
Yeah, they don't see anybody.
And then they hear something going up on the roof of the house this time, not the barn, the house.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I think that's kind of crazy. Like, how do they get up on the roof of the house? They didn't see anything, right? Mm-hmm. And then it jumps down and then passes by the swing set and then into the corn. You can see that one of the swings is
one of the swings kind of swing a little bit,
and then you see the corn kind of rustling, right? And like you said, like the terrific. Like Mel Gibson sells it, and
Joaquin Phoenix sells it, and it's just it's a great scene.
We've seen Mel Gibson act crazy. And he sells this part of being crazy awkwardly.
Yeah, being someone who's pretending to be crazy, very awkwardly.
And then so the next day, they're sitting. Officer Paskey's back, and and they're at the kitchen table.
And they're telling her what happened the night before.
They're asking what they saw. It's like, well, it was very dark. Because they didn't really see anything. Mel Gibson saw the figure on the barn and he thought it was final, and then everything else was dark.
And they're like, it was fast. This guy was fast, and she's like, well, how do you know it was a man? Some of these track and field women in the Olympics are
these Scandinavian chicks
are very fast. And then Meryl's like, well, he jumped up on the roof right away. Their roof is 10 feet tall.
High jumping in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. They got women's high jumping in the Olympics. These Scandinavian women can jump clear over me.
Meanwhile, Bo is watching Dexter's Laboratory in the other room. And she's looking for the remote at one time, and it's like, just change the channel on the TV. And she goes back, and they're still talking. And then Gabriel's like, she's like, after she says the woman's high jump, she's like, we there's plenty of other possibilities. And then finally, well, what do you mean? And she talks about some crazy lady that kind of came in and scared a bunch of people in a diner that's in town.
And then nobody's seen her since.
And no one ever saw her, right? It's like, she's like, we don't know what we're dealing with. It's essentially the point. And then Joaquin Phoenix, I love it. The next one's like, okay, I was out of line.
Yeah.
About... No, before that, he's like, before that, he wants to, excluding the
possibility of a female Scandinavian Olympian.
What else might be? And she's like, I don't appreciate sarcasm. And after that story, that's when it says, okay, I was out of line
with that Scandinavian Olympian.
I'm pretty fast, and I'm pretty strong, but that person got to jump on me, was faster than me, and move in a way that I've never seen before, right? It's kind of the point. And we find out himself that he is an athlete.
Yes. He was a minor league baseball player, what we find out later.
And we find out why he's not a major league baseball player. Licking champagne off beautiful woman's toes.
We'll get to that scene soon. We'll get to that. Oh, yeah.
That's quite soon, right? But then finally, she comes back and it's like, she wants to change the channel again. Oh, before that, they're still talking. And then Graham's he goes into
he goes into the living room
and
with
he's
Bo.
talking to Bo. It's he's talking about the water. And
he's like, we talked about this. You get one glass of water and you drink it.
And he's trying to just to pick all the ones up that he can, put them in the kitchen to the sink.
There's 3 glasses of water sitting on top of the TV. And
3 on the end table.
What's wrong with this one? She's like, there's dust in it. And this one, a hair. And this one, Morgan took a sip and it has his amoebas in it. It has his amoebas in it.
Amoebas. 4-year-old saying amoebas. I love it. And he gets, he's going to try to take all of them in the kitchen, and then he realizes there's too many, and he gives up.
Because they're all over the house. How?
He just picks.
How do they have so many glasses?
That's a good question.
This is a family of 4. How do they have so many glasses? And why do they just let them clutter the house like that?
By the way, this is another aspect that I haven't touched on yet. Thinking about the setting of the house, there are a lot of shapes in this house. Like, especially like moon shapes and sun shapes and star shapes. They show up in various different ways, which I think is really kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and they're all different types of glasses. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they're important glasses.
They are.
We'll get back to.
They are important glasses. So
he gives up.
It's important that the Hess family is a bunch of slobs. That leaves all these
they're going through a crisis.
Glasses of water sitting all around the house. Doesn't bother cleaning any of them up.
So he just decides, he takes a few glasses, puts them in the kitchen, and he comes back to the talking again. And while he's kind of doing that, also, the officer's talking with Morgan. He's playing with her walkie-talkie. Yeah. And he's playing with her radio. And it's like, oh, well, if you have one of your sister's old baby monitors, you can use that kind of like one. It'll only work the one way until I can, get you an old one from the station. It'll work just fine, right? Until they get through all these things, and then, and finally, she's leaving, and then she's not going to leave. Sorry, she doesn't leave yet, right? That's when Bo comes back in about how, wanting to change the channel again, and she's, they talk about, did you find the remote? She's like, yes. And the same show is on every channel. Yeah, the same shows on every channel. And that gets everyone's attention. Yeah, so they go in there. Again, back then, this would be the way you would know, like, something's kind of... Yes. Again, today, you could just text, know something major is happening. Then, same thing with every channel. Something was going down. And it's kind of funny. They're talking about how, specifically India, that makes sense because M. Night Shyamalan is of Indian descent. So. Yep. And they would definitely show up in India. I mean, given what their motives are, there's a lot of people in India. There are a lot of people in India. People in Greenland might have been safe. They might have been. Very sparsely populated. Yep. Scientists in the Antarctic would have been safe, but then they would have had to deal with the thing. Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway, they just, they watched the news broadcast of the ships appearing all over the world. Yeah, it's just a news broadcast about these lights that appeared in the sky. So then she's about to leave after they're kind of watching the news broadcast, and she's kind of saying, you guys have been through a lot. We know, well, that's the other thing she says. She tells Meryl that she thinks he did a good thing moving in with them. And he's like, I don't think I've been helpful. Right? And she's like, yeah, no, you have. She's just like, how's working the gas station? He's like, stimulating. And, it's not a little key moment. It's just, he does so well in these quiet moments. He's just kind of leaning back in the chair, and he's playing with his fingers, tapping the table. He's just kind of, he's off thinking about something, and he's paying attention to what she's saying also. He responds. But yeah, before she leaves, she says, I did research on your crops, on your circles. When these, originally happened, they used boards to push things down, right? Yeah, boards and ropes. But you're saying, it would take a certain number of people to do this within, so many hours at night to not be noticed, so that when, they'd be seen in the morning, right? Talk about how it was done as a hoax. But she said, this many now, over the entire globe, would take a lot of people to be. A lot of people. Right? So that's the point. And then she says, you guys have been through a lot. You probably don't want to focus too much on this, that you should get into town. Get your mind and their mind off other things on real things, right? So you can kind of tell, they've been cut off. Again, they kind of sold it, and now you kind of get the confirmation of it. So yeah, they're going into town, and they're, 1996 Ford Taurus, and they turn the radio off. And he's like, we're not listening to the radio for now. And Morgan's in the back. He's got Bo's old baby monitor. And he's just hearing static on it right now, right? You get into town, you get the, now you get the helicopter view as I'm kind of coming into town. It's classic rural small town feel, right? Yeah. Then each member of the family goes to a different place in town. Yeah. Well, Bo and Morgan stay together, but. Meryl puts money in the meter, right? He's got the coins. And then Morgan shows up. He's like, book money? He holds up his hand. Grant's like, just one. Then takes Bo's hand. This is a really good scene, too, actually. This part of the scene, it's the classic protective part, right? Yes. Hold out the hand. They get the hand. They walk off. So, they're going to the bookstore, right? And then Graham goes to the pharmacy. Yep. And then Meryl's walking off, and he tells her to be back and, meet at the pizza in 15 minutes, right? And then we see he'll be
goes to the Army recruiter's office.
Army recruiter's office, right? But the first thing we see, it's at the bookstore. And I love this. There's a soda commercial.
Yeah. So he asked first off, Morgan asked if they have any books about extraterrestrials.
I was like, you don't believe in any of this.
The guy's sitting there watching TV. You don't believe in any of this? You know what they're doing? They're trying to sell soda.
He's like, I've seen 12 soda commercials.
No, it was 15. I thought it was 15.
15.
I've seen 15 soda commercials this morning.
And he's like, you don't believe any of this. And then the wife is like, oh no, I think we did receive one by, I think I ordered one by, because I thought the city folk might like it. Yeah. It's like we received one by accident, but I kept it because the city folk might like it.
That's what it was.
Like, and she tells him exactly. She knows exactly where this book is.
Third shelf down, 3 in from the end.
Like, it's not a huge bookstore, but it's not small. I know exactly. Like, kudos to her for knowing exactly where this book is. For knowing
exactly where it is,
and they know that it has not been sold.
Yeah,
because I'm sure there's days where she's not there.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some high school kid or something like that runs the counter in her off time.
She's keeping track of inventory.
Yes, she is.
She's a very good business owner.
Yes, she is. Her husband, on the other hand, is just sitting there watching TV complaining about soda commercials. Which then,
they took our
16! And it shows the TV and there's a soda commercial on. For Shasta.
Pays for the book. Yeah, it's a Shasta.
It's a Shasta commercial.
Shasta doesn't have commercials. They sell the hospitals. They sell a case of 12-ounce, 8-ounce soda cans. Yep. Probably $60 to a hospital. Well, I guess you can get them at Big Lots anyway. So Morgan buys it.
Yeah. So first off, Morgan's flipping through the book. He's reading it while Bo is drinking a glass of water and.
Oh, that's right. And she says something's wrong with it.
She says something's wrong with the water, and she says it's not good, and so So Mrs. Nathan, Mr. Nathan and Mrs. Nathan are the ones that own the bookstore, and so Mrs. Nathan calls over to her husband. She's like, "I think there's something wrong with our water." And Morgan chimes in. He's like, "There's nothing wrong with your water." She just has this thing about her drinking water. It's like a tick, but it's not really a tick.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we're at the Army recruiting office.
So he's flipping through the book, and then he decides, okay, I'll take it.
I'll take it. That's right.
Before the recruiting office, we're at the pharmacy.
The pharmacy first, okay.
Yeah, so the pharmacy.
And she's looking for.
And so Graham
Morgan's
is there to
medicine.
Graham's there to pick up Morgan's medicine.
His asthma medicine, right?
His inhaler and stuff.
And then she finds it, and then you can tell, she's, like a high school senior.
Yeah, so the person behind the counter at the pharmacy is Tracy Abernathy.
Right.
She's played by Merritt Weaver, who was in a few episodes of Walking Dead.
Okay.
Later on. I forgot she was in this movie because I heard her voice first. I'm like, I know that voice. She's from The Walking Dead. And then I saw her yep, that's her. Merritt Weaver.
And when she's looking for it, she says, it's asthma medicine, right, Father? He's like, correct. Mm-hmm. And he says, what Morgan has, it's not Father anymore. Yeah. Again, you get that.
I'm not a reverend Father anymore.
And she looks at him, she's like, can I have paper, Father? And he kind of nods begrudgingly.
Yeah.
Again, perfect Mel Gibson. He just wants to get the thing and get out of there.
Yeah, he's like, with all this stuff going on, I just need to clear my conscience. I need to talk to you and clear my conscience. And
I have not been. We've been over this. I have not been a reverend for 6 months.
Yeah.
Do you know this? Took all this stuff on TV.
Then it cuts over to the recruiter's office.
Yeah, and then you got the recruiter. Right, he's
Ted Sutton,
middle-aged recruiter.
Ted Sutton plays Sergeant Cunningham.
He is terrific.
Terrifically, he is so
all the little roles in this
weird.
But he might be the best.
He is so weird.
He's not exactly the best.
It's
recruiter. He's really not a great recruiter.
No, he's not.
He's in the middle of the country where you probably want a good recruiter. Now, he might be good in other aspects of the Army, but as a recruiter, no.
Yeah. But he recognizes Meryl.
Well, even before that, he's just talking about I got this all figured out.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got this all figured out there. He's
like, there's people who have come in here. They've told me all these strangers that they've seen around these parts last couple of nights. They don't know what they look like because they're in the shadows, all covert like.
They're in the shadows, acting all covert like.
And but no one's gotten hurt. That's the giveaway. It's called probing. It's a military procedure. You can tell he probably has an erection right now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yes, he does.
He sent a reconnaissance group. They're not to engage, they're just scoping it all out. About a little bit of danger. Make sure it's all clear. And Meryl's like, clear for what? And then you see him, he's like,
the rest of them.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the rest of them.
The rest of them.
I love Meryl. He's like, you have a pamphlet.
Yeah, do you have a pamphlet or something I can read?
he
just reads it up, picks one up.
And also he looks at him, he's like, hey, don't I know you? He's like, oh shit, you used to play baseball.
You used to play baseball. You're Merrill Hess.
You went there that day and you hit it clear out of the park.
I was there
500 feet.
507 feet.
Graham's like 538.
No, it was 507. It was 507.
Yeah.
507. Yeah. Like 500. That's 507 feet.
Like, that's still a record.
I was there that day.
Meryl's like, yeah, I think I got the bad home on the wall. You got 2 minor league home run records, don't you?
He's like 5.
He's like, oh, 5.
Like,
he's like, why are you in the pros making stacks of cash?
Pros making stacks of cash and licking champagne off of Blonde's toes.
And then you hear a voice, because he's got another record. The minor league strikeout record, because he would just strike out, he would just swing at everything.
He's got more strikeouts than any 2 players.
And Meryl's like, hello, Lionel. We know Lionel. He's the guy they thought was.
Now, here's the thing. So Lionel Pritchard, the guy sitting at the table there, I was surprised. So in this viewing of it, I never really noticed it before because I never really thought about it before because it's been
probably one of the
it's been probably 16, 17 years since I've seen this movie, maybe more since I've actually sat down and watched it. I never realized until this viewing today that Lionel Pritchard is played by Michael Showalter. Michael Showalter is mostly in comedies, you know?
Yeah.
He's got Wet Hot American Summer. He's got The Baxter. He was part of sketch comedy troupe, and, you know, he's done mostly comedies. Mm-hmm. And then here he is in Signs with a bit part in the Shyamalan movie. He does well. He plays Lionel really well.
He's got the one scene.
It's just I thought it was kind of odd seeing him in this movie.
It's just a few lines, and he does well with it. And you can kind of tell, like, he's chuckling about the entire thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Meryl.
Yeah.
He just swinging as hard as he could. No matter what the coach said. Right? Yeah. And then, you know, Meryl's like, it felt wrong not to swing.
Oh, yeah, because the recruiter is like, is this true? He's like, felt wrong not to swing. And then as Meryl's walking out. Either one. Yeah.
He does a little thing.
He walks over as he's walking up past Lionel. He kind of stops and kind of just motions toward him real quick. Just makes a quick move toward him and makes him flinch.
Recruiter's not going to like that. Like, Lionel, no. You're not fit for my army.
Yeah. But Meryl, I want you.
We got back to the pharmacy. And now Tracy, she's just kind of sitting there. You get her profile view. And Graham's he's standing up. Like, the profile view is very classic confessional type view, right? But then Graham just kind of looks disinterested, just standing there.
And she's talking about all this stuff that she was talking, like, arguing with her boyfriend about, and, you know, how many times she cussed in the last week.
I cursed 37 times last week. I said the F word a couple times, and mostly shit.
Yeah, she's like whispering it. Shit and bastards. Is douchebag a curse word?
Like, I suppose it's on the usage.
It depends on the context.
Like, how about John? You're a douchebag for kissing Barbara.
It's like, it's a curse. Like, okay, then it's not 37. It's 71. It's 71. She said douchebag that many times.
And I was like, what is going on with this girl? And she finally's like, you know, and he's looking at her like, I need to get out of here.
I want to know how she kept count. Like, how she kept track of how many times she said douchebag.
Like, if it was like 2 or 3 times, even like 5 or 6.
Because
like,
she didn't even think about it. She just then it's not 37, it's 71.
Like, Is this all in one sitting where she like discovered he was kissing Barbara, and then she said called him a douchebag 34 times, or has this happened multiple times? And I
mean, like, was she
right? You know,
like, no, seriously, like every time that she, not even just saying douchebag, but every time she just cursed, was she like tallying him up like Legolas and Gimli?
Do already.
That still only counts as one.
His leg was twitching because my axe was embedded in his nervous system.
Okay. Anyway, so she's getting through her confession, and then it shows as it's showing Graham, this guy behind him kind of just pokes his head around. There's a line forming behind Graham.
Everyone wants their medicine. The aliens are coming. I need their medicine, because people are all talk. That's the thing, is people are talking about it.
Yeah, people are talking about it.
Obviously, there's people that might live on the farm, or maybe they live more in town where they can talk more about these things because they're not as isolated. Right? It's a good point about that. So he finally leaves, and they go into the little pizza counter, and they got like 2 or 3 tables there where you can actually eat it if you want to eat it, right? Or you take it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's your typical small town pizza place. Mm-hmm. One of those places that makes the best pizza. Those little small town pizza places are great.
I know. The rest of the family's there, and Meryl's like, was the pharmacy crowded? And Graham's like, I don't want any of you spending any time with Tracy Abernathy alone. Yeah. Do you understand? And they look out the window, and they have a celebrity sighting. It's M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. M. Night Shyamalan walks by.
Wow. They're like, is that him? And then, like, Morgan's like, is that him? And, like, Graham and Meryl kind of, like, nod their head, and Meryl says, yes, M. Night Shyamalan. The director of The Sixth Sense. He's outsider.
The director of this movie that we're in right now.
Bo's like, who is he? It's like, she still doesn't understand. She's directing his movie.
Well, I mean, she is 4, so.
Apparently, in the original screenplay, though, there is a line where Graham says, like, he's the man who killed Mom. I don't know if they filmed it. They just cut that line out altogether. But
yeah, that line would not have fit there.
No.
That line would not have fit there.
It's like, I don't want to eat pizza anymore. Anyway.
No, the way that they revealed that later is much better.
It works
than if they would have put that line in there.
Okay, I got the screenplay up again right here. So as I'm driving home, like right outside the house, I love this. The sky is golden red. The crops sway hypnotically in a gentle breeze.
Nice.
Anyway, Ford Taurus pulls up. It's not a Ford Taurus station wagon. It's a Ford Taurus.
No, it's a Ford Taurus. A sedan.
Ford Taurus station wagons. It's a sedan. It's proper.
This is a proper Taurus.
They're outside the bar, and all of a sudden, like, Morgan's still trying to listen to the monitor. And
baby monitor. And
he's little, like, he's like, oh, did you hear that? I heard speaking. Noises. Right.
It's like there's 2 of them talking to each other.
Graham is like, no, it's just static.
It's just picking up another baby monitor.
And Morgan's like, it's a code. It's a code. And, like, Meryl's trying to figure it out, because you can tell, like, he kind of hears something, but he just thinks it's
you can hear some slight tones. You can hear some clicking. It
could be anything. Then finally, like, Bo's like, I heard it. And then, like, he's kind of raising it as I get a little bit, as he listens, like, kind of above his head, kind of becomes clearer, right?
But what's funny, though, is, like, after they park the car and they all start to get out, then he's just like, everybody freeze!
And as they get out of the car, that's right, yeah.
As they're getting out of the car, it's like, everybody freeze! Because that's when it was really starting to come in. And they're kind of listening to it, and Bo and Meryl Graham and Meryl are kind of, they're kind of just humoring him to a certain extent.
They're kind of moving it, they're still on their respective sides of the car.
Yeah. Right? So before they hand it over to them, this is where the Bo's like, I hear it, Morgan. And it shows her and her hands like up by her head, like she completely just froze. He said, "Nobody move." She just froze in place. yeah, so then Meryl gets Morgan to hand it to him,
asks for it, like let me have that. And,
Graham asks for it, and so he
and,
hands it to Graham.
But Graham's still on the driver's side, Meryl's still there on the passenger side by the front of the car, and somehow like they kind of come together.
So Meryl asks him to hand it to him,
right? So
he goes to reach across the car to hand it to him, and as soon as both their hands are on it, it really starts getting louder and more clear.
It's like. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now let's get out of here. It's like Morgan and Meryl's like, oh, but we might lose a single, right? So like he kind of believes it now. Yeah. And then finally they start hearing more and more, right? And then it's like, and as they're like, and finally Graham's like, this is why we're not watching the news. People will get obsessed, right? Yeah. They read things into every little thing that happens, right? And then Morgan finally realizes, oh no, but like the higher it goes, the clearer it gets. So he wants to see it, so he kind of climbs on the car, takes it back, and he's like trying to hold it up to the sky. They all kind of climb up on the top of the car, and now you can kind of actually hear it becomes clear. Where you do hear like these two different little click like noises, sounds going back and forth, like they're speaking with each other. Yeah, and it's kind of cool because like you look up, like it's kind of a clear, it's a cloudy
clicks like the Predator clicks.
Oh, Carl Weathers. I'm so sorry.
Yep. Anyway. Yeah, so then, because that night, they're in the living room watching TV. They're all sitting on the couch, and the news is on, and they have a special bulletin. And
at what point did they decide to turn the news on, though? I'm trying to think what happened right after this. Because they said they're not going to watch the news.
Yeah, true.
At some point, like you get like because you get when you have like a baby monitor or any kind of walkie-talkie radio like that, you have little lights that kind of show up as like it's receiving the sound, and finally those lights they drop and it's just a static again. That's what kind of happens at the end. That's what happens, right? So that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that scene, right? So there's that scene. We get that scene that I think it's that night, right, where he brings out the dog food outside, right, and he's looking out into the crops.
Yeah,
and he's like, not any publicity for my crops, essentially.
Yeah. I'm not going to report anything you do to my crops. You're not getting famous off of me.
But the dog still has no interest, like because the dog's barking still. Because that's right. That's the scene where he goes into the crops, right? Is that night? Yeah. He's got his big flashlight and he goes in. That's right. Because he finally goes in. That's right. He's looking out at it because he didn't say that yet. When he's outside the crops, he's looking out at it, right? And then goes into the crops. He goes back into the clearing where the crop circle is. Yeah. And that's when he screams that, right? And he kind of hears the sounds. He hears like those little clicks or whatever, and he's trying to get back. And then he kind of this is the usage of the corn is really good, I think, right? Because like this gets into like kind of very Hitchcockian type of suspense, like something's out there, right? Because it's established well enough now that there's something different going on. Yeah, it's not just hoaxers.
Yeah, it's not.
You don't know the full extent of it.
People going around making crop circles.
The thing I like about it is like even he knows, he's just not ready to admit it yet.
Yeah,
and there's a reason he doesn't want to admit it yet. But and so it amps it up because at this point you realize things are going to be okay at this point, but you still don't know what's going to happen, and you have no idea what's going to show up, and it keeps it in the shadows, which is good because unfortunately later the CGI in this movie is an actual weak point. Yeah, which is why here it works really, really well. That's right, because he talks to the dog first too, right? When the dog's barking like out the crops, like he's talking to the dog like this is all make believe, and they're going to feel foolish. Yeah, like he's talking to a child. Yeah. And so, like, finally, like, he leaves, like, the inner crop circle area, and then he's trying to get back and kind of gets, turn around a little bit. Because, he's frightened. You can tell he's frightened. He doesn't know what's happening. He's trying to make sense of all this. And it makes sense. So, like, when he realizes he's going through a crisis of faith. Yeah. While also mourning his wife. Mm-hmm. While
also dealing with an alien invasion.
Yeah. He's trying to protect his kids. I mean, I think it's one of the scariest things about this. Like, it establishes, like, it uses the space really well. Yeah. Right? And it's funny, you need to be able to use, in some ways, like an open rural farmhouse to do this. Mm-hmm. Right? Because, like, there's so much open space that you're kind of looking out, but there's so many areas where there's things that you might not know where they are, or something might be hiding, might, like, show up, right? I think of The Strangers, which is, it's like, you're waiting for it. Something's there, or could be there, and where it is, and what its intentions are, you got no idea. It's playing off a fear of the unknown. It's like there's something no one that's there, but what it is, like the extent of the danger is unknown. Anyway, so he kind of gets out into a small like aisle there within the cornfield, right? He drops his flashlight, right, and he turns it on and kind of blinds him for a second when it kind of comes back on, right? Yeah. And he hears the little clicking sounds and a rustling. And he sees this little figure go in, and it startles him. He comes back out, and then and then he finally gets back out to like his backyard, and he goes in the house, and that's when he's like, okay, we're going to turn the TV on. It's
time to turn on the TV. So
that's honestly one of the scary things that, like, I think is, like, at that point, like, they could lock the doors, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. Like, some of these rural areas, it's so safe, you don't need to lock the door. But they can still lock the doors, but, like, it's so unknown. Like, these things are still staring through our windows.
Yeah. Now, what I don't get...
jump up.
What I don't get is there's no gun in this house.
There is no gun in this house.
I mean, they live on a farm out in the country. You would think they would at least like have a rifle or something for like coyotes or some other animal that might come in and try to harm their dogs or harm their kids or whatever. But there's no gun in this house.
Yeah.
There's a baseball bat hanging on the wall, but there's no guns.
There's not. Anyway. Yeah, no. There's no guns. It's Mel Gibson. There should be a gun.
Yeah, there should be.
He's not a pacifist.
No, he's Riggs.
He's not Smokey. He's not a conscientious objector. Think he's a Quaker? Come on.
There goes another Big Lebowski reference.
So he gets in. The kids are there in the kitchen, and they're like doing the dishes and splashing water themselves. And Beryl's reading the pamphlet. Mm-hmm. And that's when he's like, "Yeah, we can turn the TV on now." And then they turn the TV on, and like talk about how
they're sitting on the couch, and
there's lights appearing all over the globe near the crop circles.
Yeah, that's right. This is where the lights come in.
Yes.
But so Morgan wants to tape it, and this is where it's early 2000s because they still have a VCR.
They have a VCR, and they tape stuff.
So he goes and grabs a tape to.
DVDs were definitely around then, but most people still had a VCR.
Yes. But so he goes and grabs a tape to tape it, and Bo's like, "No, don't use that one. That's my ballet recital."
And I love Morgan. He's right. Like it's historic. He's a smart boy.
Yeah, Morgan's like, this is history.
Everything they wrote in history books is about to change. Mm-hmm. And then the person on the radio says everything in history books is about to change.
Yeah. So Graham tells him
he doesn't want them arguing. He's like, get another tape.
Yeah, get another tape. So he's like, Uncle Merrill, I'm going to use your tape.
It's this
swimsuit special.
And meanwhile, like Merrill, like again, Joaquin Phoenix, he sells it perfectly. He's like his hands on his knees, and he's just
like
into the TV.
Enthralled in the TV, not even paying attention to what tape he's putting in.
Right, and then the news anchor, it's like talking all about it. They're watching it, and then finally, it kind of cuts. Now they're all still in the living room. And
they're all on the couch. The kids are asleep on either side of Merrill and Graham.
I love this scene.
I do too. This is one of those scenes. This is one of those scenes that really, like in this movie, that really shows Joaquin Phoenix's acting chops.
Like both of them. Like,
both of them.
It feels like two brothers just talking late at night. But it's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah,
right?
It is. Because, Meryl's all worried about, what's going on. What do you think about all this that's going on?
And he's like, some people probably think this is like the end of the world, right? Because like that would be an obvious thing going on. And like, again, like this again shows how at that point, like, today you go on to Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you might be, Reddit, any other, a lot of different places to be able to kind of, again, at that time you can go into message boards or chat rooms, but you'd probably be less likely to do that.
Yeah.
Than you are now, especially because you would have to go to the computer and do that. Like now you have it in your pocket to be able to do that. And so like they just do it how so it's just, a lot of people probably think this is the end of the world. And
Graham's like, well, there's two groups that you could fall into here. One group will see these crop circles, these everything that's going on here,
these lights, and
these lights. They think that it's a sign, that it's a miracle. Mm-hmm. They look at these lights, they see a sign that better things are to come, that it's a miracle.
And really, where that sign might be, like it could be any number of things. But we're not alone. But at the same time, it can affirm other things, even if it might be scary. Like, no, we're not alone. also, right? Yeah. It will be okay in the end, ultimately, even though it's scary.
There's a second group that'll look at these lights and know that there's nobody watching out for you. There's nobody watching over you, that you're on your own.
Yeah. Well, also this too, like, there's a sense when, Meryl's asking Graham about it, he even puts it in like a tone of a younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can tell, like, they're not just like 2, 3, 4 years apart. Like there's
there's an age gap. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's asking genuinely, like a younger brother asking his older brother, for guidance.
So Graham finally, he's like, so you have to ask, which group do you fall?
Yeah, he's like, which group do you fall to? And then
Meryl kind of thinks about it.
He's like, I was at this party.
Once.
Yeah, I was at this party once, and I was sitting on the couch talking to this girl,
Sarah McKinney.
Yeah,
it's like he's still thinking about how hot she was.
Yeah, he's like, I was gonna lean in and kiss her.
There's a gum in my mouth.
So I realized I had gum in my mouth. So I took the gum out of my mouth and put it into a paper cup that was sitting next to the couch, and I turned to lean in, and she threw up all over herself. And at that moment, I knew it was a miracle. Because if I had kissed her right then,
kissing her when she threw up.
I could have been kissing her when she threw up.
I'm a miracle man.
I'm a miracle man. Those lights are a miracle.
But like that again, that's where it gets in. Like he goes from the scene where he's like thinking deeply about what's going on. He gets a little bit scared. He needs to reach out to his brother for some comfort.
Mm-hmm.
He gets his answer, then he reaches back to this point that he's amusing to him. And he blends every aspect of that seamlessly.
Yeah.
Right? And Graham's like, okay, well, there you go. That's your answer for yourself. I was like, well, what type are you? And Graham's like, well, do you feel comforted? And Meryl,
yes.
Honestly, it's just yes.
Yes, I do.
Right? And Graham's like, what does it matter?
Yeah, what does it matter what side I fall into?
Right? They look at the TV, it's silent, it's on mute, and there's just the images again, right? And then finally kind of get the full confirmation that she's dead. Graham's like, you know Colleen's last words before they killed her?
She said, "See," and she said, "Swing away." Yeah,
he's like, "See," then her eyes glazed up.
Yeah, then her eyes glazed over.
Tell Meryl to swing away.
You know why she said that?
Because the nerve ending, firing. There's random things that pop into her brain.
And she was reminded of going to one of your old baseball games.
There's no one watching out for us. We are all alone. Yeah. They go back, and then the lights flickering, and the classic TV light, in the dark room. And then you kind of get Graham, and they go to sleep. Again, this is 2002, so it's not Poltergeist 1983 where it turns off at a certain point. You just get static. Yeah. Nothing's gonna come out and get Bo.
No, nothing's going to come out of the TV and take Bo into the TV land.
So Graham has a little bit of a dream where he's kind of pulling up to this accident scene. Mm-hmm. It's kind of where the end of it. We'll get back to kind of this dream. Right?
Yeah, this flashback dream.
Told about Bo's dream, right?
Yeah,
Bo's dream is a big mystery. So
throughout the movie, all these parts, I dreamed this. This isn't my dream.
He wakes up. You can tell, it's probably like mid to late morning. So, he wakes up and he finds Graham kind of in one of those little storage closets that's underneath the staircase, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a coat closet, right?
Yeah. The Harry Potter bedroom.
Yeah, right. And he has a TV in there. He has the extension cord going all the way across, right?
And Graham sees him in there. He's like, what's this? He's like, and Mary's like, the kids were watching too much TV. They were getting obsessed. I figured I'd move the TV out of there.
He's like, they should be outside playing Tea Party or Furry Furry Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Furry Rabbit? What's Furry Furry Rabbit?
It's a game,
I don't know. It's a game, isn't it?
And he's like, there's been interesting developments. Like, and again, this is the perfect part. Like, you get glued into these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they finally find out, like, yeah. And then Graham's like, oh, what time is it? It's 11:30, right? But they're gone. But they're not really gone, right? There was this bird that flew right at the area where the lights were hovering, and then just disappeared.
It just
on the ground.
It just stopped dead in its tracks and dropped. And they found the bird. Its head was all crushed. It's like they have some sort of like protective field, like invisible field around it.
They've been playing it all morning, right? So, like, again, it's classic. So still up there hovering. And some people think there are more of them now that have come. We just haven't seen them. The thing, so it's talking about, like, people now have theories about the crop circles, the landmark for the aircraft to kind of hover around, right?
Yeah, navigational, like a map, basically.
Yeah. So, he goes upstairs. He takes a shower, and he's in his robe. And he goes in the kids' room, and they're reading the book that they bought from the bookstore. Mm-hmm. And they got tinfoil hats on.
Tinfoil hats on. He's like, it's so the aliens can't read our minds.
They go, okay.
So he sits down with them, and he's looking. He's flipping through the book.
Everything in this book. How does that book know everything?
Yes, how does that book know? Although
the book's not.
It got the description of the aliens wrong. Said they'd probably be small because their brains have evolved so much that they wouldn't need to use muscles. So they would probably be small, like my size.
No. He was much, obviously,
Yeah.
He finds out firsthand that they're not his size.
Yeah, he does. But
they are hostile, but it's not about being like locusts, like Independence Day. No, kind of more like Twilight Zone type aliens, where they need the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, like they tell you everything in this book, right? And I was like, they're probably vegetarians.
Yeah. They probably vegetarians because they would have realized the benefits of such a diet.
I was like, who wrote this book? Scientists who've been persecuted for their beliefs.
That means they're employed.
It's like,
if you're gonna make fun of it, we're not gonna read it.
I was like, this is serious.
This is serious.
I love how where does he think? Where's he even come up with that idea? Oh yeah, they've been persecuted for their beliefs. Was it on the guy's bio in the book?
Yeah, maybe. I'm a scientist who was persecuted for my beliefs. It's Dr. Bimbu, wasn't it? Something like that?
Yeah. He's like, Bimbu. It's like, Dad.
What? I was just asking a question.
You had a tone. It was like they could actually be benevolent.
They could be.
Right?
Yeah.
Where they're just trying to further their knowledge of the universe. Probably like the aliens in E.T.
Yeah.
Even though E.T. the alien, they might have been hostile too if they found we were bad.
Yeah.
If they thought we weren't nice. And because they brought guns to E.T., they're going to come back and nuke us.
Maybe.
Anyway, that didn't happen, but it could have. E.T. bargained for our lives, maybe. What about Alf,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a cat.
Yeah, if you're a cat and Alf's around, you're screwed. But then, Graham asks, what if they're hostile? And like, well, then they would invade. But they'd probably use ground tactics, hand-to-hand combat, because they knew that if they would use any of their advanced technology,
we would use nuclear weapons, and the Earth would be destroyed, and
they wouldn't be any good for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they're looking through, and they see a house in there. It looks a lot like their farmhouse. And there's an alien, classic air, flying saucer.
Flying saucer shooting beams at this house that's on fire. The house is on fire, and there's
bodies outside.
Yeah, there's an adult body and two child-sized bodies laying on the grass outside in this picture. And so once they all see that, they get quiet, and then Graham shuts the book. He's like, "That's enough from Dr. Bimbu for now."
Bimbu. And then the phone rings, and they kind of get startled.
Yeah.
And then, he puts the book under his arm, and then he goes into the hallway. There's a phone out there because landlines are still a thing in 2022.
Yep.
2002, not 2022. There's no landlines in 2022.
No, there might still be one or two out there.
Well, not
regular ones.
A few farmhouses, within businesses, obviously, but farmhouses maybe. Farmhouses, okay, whatever. Anyway.
But 2002, they were all over the place. There were landlines in almost every house.
Yeah. You hear this voice that's like, "Father." Graham's like, "Hello." And then,
there's no answer.
Right?
So
finally, you kind of see him again, and he's dressed, and he's going downstairs, and I'm going out for a few minutes. No one leaves his house, right? Meryl kind of peeks out from under the steps, like, "Where are you going?" Right? And he's like, "Ray Ratty's house." And Meryl's like, "Why?" Like, he just called here. And then we realized that, and then they kind of cuts up to them, back up in the kids' room, and they're looking up at the telescope, and then Rose like, "You won't let anything bad happen, will you, Morgan?" And Morgan's like, "No, what, do you have one of my feelings again?" She's like, "Yes." She's like, "No, is it bad?" I'm like, "Yes."
Well, she's just nodding her head.
Yeah. And if it does, I won't let anything happen to you.
Yeah, I won't let anything bad happen to you.
He hugs her. And Bo's like, "I don't want you to die.
I don't want you to die."
He said I was going to die.
He said I was going to die.
So they look back up, and then they go back out to Ray Reddy's house. He pulls up. It's kind of quiet out there, and he's looking in. We find out Ray Reddy is, and then we see like is this like veterinarian, like office around back.
Yeah.
So now we have a vet.
Yeah. So he's walking by the house. He looks through the window, and
he looks through the windows.
The kitchen is trashed, like somebody like the place has been robbed or something.
And he finally, he looks back, and it looks like it's probably like his actual like office. Again, like there's a couple chairs turned over, and he doesn't know what happened. And finally, he looks down towards the back of the house. There's a car there, and there's a guy in the driver's seat. Right? And he's like, he looks in the passenger windows down. He kind of, so
he walks over to the car, and it's M. Night Shyamalan in the driver's seat. Again, he saw the director of this movie.
I love The Sixth Sense, but Unbreakable, classic movie, M. Night. Mm-hmm. No, that's not what they talk about.
They talk about the next scene. They talk about what Mel Gibson is going to be playing the next scene like, because Shyamalan's the director.
Yeah. I need you to act this way. I left a butcher's knife on the counter. You have to use that for this scene.
Yes.
The prop master told me to use the serrated knife. I was like, no. It has to be the butcher's knife.
It's got to be the butcher knife. But no, so this is where it's officially revealed that Ray Reddy is the one who accidentally killed Graham's wife.
Right. So he's like, it says like, I wrote your number down to call you. Been next to the phone for 6 months. And I couldn't think of any other call because I panicked. Thank you for coming, Father.
And he's like, I've never fallen asleep while driving before or since.
And all of a sudden, like, okay, now, why are we talking about this now? Like,
it's just that 10 seconds.
If I had done it at a different second, I would have missed her.
If I had done it any other time, but it had to be that right moment, which that might not have been the best choice of words. That right moment.
To kill your wife.
It's like it happened in that 10 seconds that my eyes were closed.
2 seconds before, I would have killed a squirrel.
Yeah. Like if it happened any other time, I would have just ended up in a ditch with a headache. But no, it had to happen. It happened at that right time.
And he's like, well, I guess I screwed then because I killed a reverend's wife.
Yeah.
I'm not, people that do that aren't ushered to the front of the line of heaven.
Yeah.
And he finally kind of starts the car, and he was like, where are you going?
I'm going to the lake.
I'm going to the
all
lake.
these places where these lights are being seen, there's no water around. So I got a feeling
I figure they don't like water.
Yeah, I figure they don't like water.
Can't be worse than here, which that's actually a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Can't be worse than here.
That is a good point.
Might as well try something.
Yeah.
And then Graham's like, did you see one of them? And then Ray's like, I'm truly sorry for you and yours. And
yeah. I'm truly sorry for what I did to you and yours.
Mel Gibson's like, He's remembering his wife that got killed, in the trailer at Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
Not his wife. He's remembering his wife, and then he's remembering the mistress that he
the South African girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renee Russo does not die, though.
No, Renee Russo does not.
She leaves him for Anthony Hopkins in Thor.
Yeah.
Because Anthony Hopkins is Odin.
Yeah.
And Odin apparently is greater than.
And she also needs to give birth to Thor. So. And in order to give birth to Thor, she needs that Odin seed.
Anyway. So finally, before he leaves, like, don't open my pantry, Father. I know you like Nilla wafers. I
know you love Nilla wafers, but don't open the pantry. I found one of them in there.
There's stuffed Oreos in there. I know you love those too. Still, don't open it.
I found one of them in the pantry, and so I locked them in there.
Right, so it kind of cuts out. We don't see what happens yet in the pantry or the kitchen, right? The next thing we see, we're back to Merrill. Like, he kind of gets woken back up. He's falling asleep because he probably didn't sleep much the night before. He's been watching this all the time. And then finally, it's like, his female TV anchor, right? She's like, the Starling Village we just received this, right?
Yeah, we just received this footage from a child's birthday party in Brazil.
Romero Valadares, right? Like, what you're about to see might disturb you.
Yeah, so it's just, typical kids
out there, kind of this typical kid's birthday party. You're hearing a lot of kind of screams oh, it's back here, right? And they're all inside the house, and they're kind of looking like this patio area, and then slowly kind of
the kids keep getting in the way of the camera. He's like, "Move, children, vámonos!"
I love one of my favorite parts, like vámonos.
Move, children, vámonos.
How do he speak them in Spanish? The Portuguese, they're in Brazil. I mean, it's very similar. Anyway,
Yeah,
probably
but-
Vámonos might be Portuguese. I don't know.
But either way, he's watching TV, a tape that was sent into them that was recorded earlier, and he thinks they can hear him.
It's great, it's good. I don't know if he thinks he can hear. It's not like when
it's like
a
I know. It's when you're just talking to the TV, but
but it kind of pans over because like it's the camera's from inside the house, just seeing like the back patio type area, and then kind of seeing areas within the house. Now you're like looking out this other window more towards the front of the house.
Yeah, so
and there's a bunch of little kids like they're scrambling towards the window, and they're like, it's coming.
Yeah, so they actually get a clear shot down the little alleyway that that goes out to the road.
And then all of a sudden, this green figure just walks across the screen.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as it walks across the screen, then Merrill jumps out of his chair.
It's like, oh. Then like the footage like rewinds, it goes back, and there it is again, right? No, and like he's pushed his chair back, and he looks and he's looking at it, and like he's shocked, and like it probably would be kind of a frightening thing to see live when all these things are happening. It's effective. It really is. It's like the most effective the alien looks is like right there. So we cut back to Ray's house and we're in the kitchen, and like again, the kitchen's like a mess. I love Mel Gibson here. He's trying to talk like a rough cop. He's like, the police are here. I am a police officer.
I am a police officer.
I just want to talk to you. We know about the
hoax.
We took some of your friends downtown in a paddy wagon.
Then he kind of pauses like, mouths to himself, paddy wagon?
If you tell us your name and why you did it, we'll give you the same deal we gave them.
Don't throw your life away, son.
Meanwhile, like, there's a pantry there. Like, you got along the side, you got like the kitchen counter, there's a sink, and you could tell like Ray was cutting vegetables for dinner or something, right?
And the kitchen table is flipped up and wedged under the doorknob of the pantry.
Yes. How he got this thing in the pantry?
Yeah, it's a big door. He said he found it in the pantry, so he probably just shut the door. But that's a big table to just flip over like that and wedge in there.
He channeled Bruce Willis's strength on Unbreakable somehow.
Yeah, I think so.
He wrote the character. He could channel that.
Yeah,
throw it against the
I think so.
So he's he looks under, and he kind of sees like shadowy movement a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So he looks over, sees the knife on the.
Well, first he walks away.
No, he sees the knife on the counter, kind of looks down, tries to see a reflection.
That's right. Then he puts it back up on the counter.
And then he's like, what am I doing? He puts it back on the counter, walks out, and then stops.
I love this part. It's perfect because like they keep the angle just from like the camera's on the ground. Like,
the camera's on the ground, like looking up at him.
And this is where like Shyamalan can really excel. He just kind of lets things unfold. He just leaves it there and allows it to happen. Right? At this point, you realize, okay, we've seen the footage from Brazil. We've seen the lights. We know there's bad things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, Mel Gibson's character at this point does not want to believe any of it. He's trying hard to believe it's not this bad thing. Because he doesn't want to believe any more bad things.
Yeah.
He's had enough bad things in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So he finally he looks up under, and all of a sudden, like, these fingers come up from under the door. He's like, it's an old house. There's a good sizable gap under that door, right?
Yeah, so as he approaches the door,
he kind of drops like the knife, but then he's able to pick it back up and slice off some of the fingers.
Slice off a couple of the fingers.
Well, the ends of the fingers, I should say. It's just what gets under the door. It's not.
So it's basically from the knuckle up.
Well, knuckle up. Yeah.
So there's little finger nubs left over on, I think, 2 of its fingers.
Yeah.
So, and then
I'm also reading. I'm reading the script right now. Apparently, he was reading the script as he's leaving. He says douchebag. Like, why did they leave that out?
Why did they take that out? Oh, that would be perfect.
So he gets back home. He opens the door because, like, again, they're keeping the doors locked. They establish that they're keeping the doors locked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. There's still windows in the house, and other aspects. I mean, but it's the best you can do, right? Just at least lock the doors at some level of defense.
Yeah.
He opens the door, he closes it, locks it again, and he turns around. Now Meryl's wearing a tinfoil hat.
Yep.
There's the three of them just
Meryl
just
and the
sitting
two kids, they're sitting on the couch all wearing tinfoil hats.
So he goes to sit down on the steps to go upstairs, right? Because it's kind of it's a little bit open from that living room area to like the steps there in the foyer. And Graham's like, "Okay, Morgan, does the book tell us what happens if they become hostile?" And then Morgan starts talking about the book, and then I was like, "Wait, what book is this?" He doesn't know about the book yet.
Yeah,
right? He's
Meryl doesn't know about the book.
He's like, "Well, what are the chances they invade?" Like, well, two things would happen. They fight, they're defeated, and leave, and return with full forces hundreds or thousands of years later, right? And Graham's like, well, what's option two? They win.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's kind of funny because like Graham's like, well, what do you think about the idea that like they don't like places near water?
I heard a theory. I heard a theory that they don't like water.
I love how like Morgan's like it sounds made up, but again, like a lot of the stuff in the book sounds
that sounds made up. So Graham wants to take everybody to the lake because he's buying into Ray's theory that they don't like water. But Morgan wants to stay in the house because this is the house where we lived with Mom.
Yeah, makes sense. So they decided to make it democratic. The four of them make it democratic.
So they put it to a vote.
Even number.
Yeah,
make it democratic.
They put it to a vote.
Go to the lake.
Yeah, Morgan and Meryl want to stay in the house. Graham and Bo raise their hands to go to the lake, and then Graham's like, my vote counts as two. Morgan's like, that's bullshit.
Like, I represent two parents.
So, they're arguing a little bit. Then Bo's like, I changed my vote. Graham's like, you can't change your vote. So Morgan takes another vote, and it ends up 3-2.
It's like Morgan's like, you lose 3-2.
Yeah, because Morgan, Meryl, and Bo all vote for staying in the house. He's like, you lose 3-2.
Finally, and he sits down. It's like, we're going to board up every window in this house. Like, how do you know boards do anything? Because they struggle with pantry doors.
Mm-hmm. So they start boarding up the windows, and then Meryl realizes they're running out of boards. And there's a bunch of windows in the bedrooms upstairs.
We'll just have to board the doors to the bedrooms.
Yeah. So Graham's like,
then we'll board up the doors. Has multiple windows, just board the doors to the bedrooms.
Now, what I don't understand here is, so after they get all the windows boarded up and they start boarding up the doors, so the bedroom doors open in.
Yes.
And they're boarding the outside of the door frames.
Yes.
Now, granted, they're using the boards and like covering the entire doorway, to basically create a little wall there. But they're using nails. They're just going straight into the door frame. You would think that the aliens would be able to push those nails out. Like if they put enough force on the boards that it would.
They do seem pretty strong.
Yeah.
Even if you have trouble with pantry doors, they seem pretty strong. Especially if you have multiple of them, not just one. You get multiple of them together.
Mm-hmm. And they'd be able to bust through those boards.
Especially if they found something heavy that they could pick up and
even
if they just put their weight behind it, they could just find something heavy and use it like a battering ram. Yeah.
Or, they could get one of the weaker of their bunch and use his head as a battering ram.
They find their Tim.
Yes. They find their Tim. We love you, Tim. We love you, buddy.
But they're boarding things up, and they got the TV thing on. So, people are flocking to churches and synagogues and mosques, right? Morgan talks, some guy has sign that says it was the end of the world, and then like they're boarding things up, and then Morgan kind of talks to Meryl. It's like, I wish you were my dad. He's like, what are you talking about? Never say that again.
You never say that again. And then
they're finally boarding up the stuff upstairs, and
they're boarding up the last door upstairs, and
finally, Graham starts talking to Bo about when she was born and how she smiled.
Like, did I ever tell you about what happened when you were born? She's like, no. When you were born, your mom was so happy. She was so excited to have you. You came out. Everybody in the room was just in awe of this beautiful little baby. And when they took you to get you cleaned up, you looked at me and you smiled. Now, they say that babies that young can't smile, but you smiled. And then they share a little moment, and he's like, okay, let's go downstairs. And they start to go downstairs to leave Meryl to finish boarding up the door.
when they get downstairs, he starts talking to
Well,
Morgan.
first, before that, actually, we skipped the whole dinner part.
Well, the dinner part happens a little bit, at least after when he talks to Bo. Because there's that scene even before they start boarding up the windows into the doors. Like, he's out. He's actually in his room. I forgot about this part, too. And he looks out, and he sees, we don't see it. We see, whatever he sees, he doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, we gotta, like, hurry up on, like, boarding these things, right? And so they board those up.
Yeah, but they had said that they were going to, because Morgan was asking about Isabel, the dog.
Right.
He's like, we'll put her in the garage after dinner.
They forget about that.
But if they boarded up the doors before dinner, then they wouldn't be able to get out to get Isabel. The dinner, dinner comes before the boarding of the house of the doors, because
I thought dinner was. No, because there's when they finally come and they hear the noises again, and then they kind of have to be on guard about everything, because they finish it up, and then
because it's after they finish up boarding everything up, then they hear the banging on the front door.
Right.
There was no banging on anything yet when they were eating dinner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they don't. That's right. That's right. They had dinner before they start.
Before they start boarding.
They board up a bunch of boarding, but then they decided to have dinner.
They did some boarding, then they decided to have dinner, and so.
I like that they're gonna make sandwiches, and then Bo's like, I want spaghetti.
Yeah, Meryl's like, I'll make some sandwiches, and Bo's like, I want spaghetti. And Meryl's like, well, we got to eat quick. And then Graham's sitting there, he's like, spaghetti sounds great.
No, it's funny because it's really interesting how this contrasts very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts asking what everyone wants to eat.
Yeah. He's like, Morgan, what do you want? He's like, French toast. Meryl, what do you want? Chicken teriyaki. Good choice.
I love it. It's like chicken teriyaki. Yeah. Very interesting choice.
I'm going to have a cheeseburger with bacon.
Extra
bacon.
That's right. Make your last meal worth it. If you know this might be a lot,
Yeah. So,
but then it gets weird because they're about to eat the dinner, and then no one really wants to eat it.
Yeah, they're all sitting there because they know what's going on outside. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not wasting any more time on prayer.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not wasting another minute on prayer. And at this point, Bo is starting to cry.
He's like, if you're not gonna eat, I'm gonna eat. And he's just trying to take things from everybody.
Yeah, if you guys aren't gonna eat, I'm gonna have a little bit of everything. So he just starts taking stuff off everybody's plates, putting them on his, and he's starting to tear up. He's like eating, and he's starting to bawl his eyes out. And this is when while all this is going on, Morgan is arguing with him. He's like, I hate you.
That's right.
And yeah. So then that's when he's like, if you guys aren't gonna eat, I'll try a little bit of everything. And then he starts crying. Graham starts crying, and Morgan gets up. Everybody's crying. Morgan gets up, goes over to him, gives him a hug. And then Bo gets up, walks over, gives him a hug. And then Meryl's just sitting there at the table, and you just see Graham's hand reach over and grab his shirt and pull him over. And they just have a group hug. Everybody's crying on each other's shoulders.
And then the baby monitor's there, and the little clickety clicks come back up. And they go into the closet there on the steps, and now the feed has been cut off.
Okay, that's right. That is So the dinner was after they boarded up everything.
Well, they start boarding things up, and it's like, okay, it's happening, right?
Yeah. So and
that's when they start pounding, because they said they knew they would have to they knew before okay, they didn't have enough boards all the windows, so we need to do the doors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at the point. Okay, that's when they start boarding up the doors upstairs.
Yeah, so you hear the pounding on the front door, and then that's when...
And finally, they board those up, and then they come downstairs, and they start hearing the pounding on the front door, because the downstairs and an inch away. So that's when they start talking about the Bo.
They're talking to... so when they're downstairs, after the pounding on the front door, then that's when he's talking to Morgan.
Right.
Telling him, did I ever tell you what happened when you were born? And I always thought this was...
Before that, that's when they actually talk about they forgot about Isabel. And they hear Isabel's barking, and then they hear right?
You hear yelping and then whining, and then Meryl's quiet.
Meryl's like, should turn off the lights. And Graham knows no.
Graham's like, they already know we're in here.
Right, and that's when he starts talking
when Graham starts talking to Morgan about when he was born, he's like, so I always thought this was funny because the story with Bo earlier was so sweet and.
Yeah, no, it's such a contrast.
And this one, he's like, when you were born,
you came out of your mama,
and she just kept on bleeding. So they rushed you out of the room before I could even see you.
And then I love Meryl's they're on the roof. you can hear the footsteps going all over.
And then Graham's like, and.
While they're trying to fix her up.
All she kept on asking about you. And
you hear like the windows break upstairs, and they hear things falling over the bedrooms. Like feels like they're in the house.
So I made sure I wanted to make sure that your mama. I wanted your mama to see you first.
She dreamed her whole life about you.
Because she dreamed her whole life about you. And so when the doctor brought you in and handed you to her, she looked you in the eyes and said, "Hello, Morgan. You look exactly like you did in my dreams."
They kind of smile. Then the door handles are being rattled, and they move kind of quietly. And then all of a sudden, they stare up and they see upstairs in the middle of the hallway that rectangle of a door. They forgot about the attic.
In the ceiling. They forgot about the attic door.
And then they're like, oh yeah, I gotta go. They realize they need to go to the cellar. So they're kind of backing up and getting ready to get down in the cellar. And they see on the front door these fingers kind of,
reaching under the door. And they get down into the basement and shut the door and realize there's no lock on it. So Graham is standing there holding the door shut while Meryl goes to try to find something to wedge the door. Yeah. To wedge under the doorknob. And so something's trying to get in. The doorknob's turning. And so Graham's holding onto the knob, trying to keep it from turning and trying to keep the door shut. While Meryl's frantically running around trying to grab something, he finds a pickaxe. He's like, I got something. Swings it over, hits the light bulb, and breaks the light bulb. So it goes dark.
Yeah.
And you just hear all this scrambling.
I like the part, too, where, you see Graham, he's staring up against, he says he's not ready.
Yes, that's right. That's right. As he's holding on the doorknob, you see the door kind of pushing. It kind of gets slow motion as it's zoomed in on his face. And then it goes back normal. He's like, I'm not ready. So he's holding the door, and then Meryl accidentally breaks the light bulb. And you just hear all this scrambling around in the dark. And then finally you get Morgan has a flashlight.
Yeah.
And it starts out by shining it up under his chin.
Yeah.
Like he was telling a ghost story or something. And then he shines it over, and Graham and Meryl are both over by the door. They got the pickaxe wedged under the doorknob.
And then, Morgan's like, oh, we forgot our hats. Yeah. No, our secret thoughts.
Morgan's like, we forgot our hats. We forgot our helmets.
And then, finally, okay, where's Bo? And they look over, they find Bo. I say, I'm okay.
She's kind of behind some shelves.
What's happeing out there? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so then there's pounding on the door.
That's what Morgan's like, I hope they're doing better than we are. We don't even have helmets.
Yeah. I hope they're doing better than we are. We don't even have helmets.
And then all of a sudden they realize they're just making noises. Eventually they just realize they're just making noises out there.
Yeah, they're just banging on the door, making noises.
They want attention. They realize they're trying to distract them. Morgan's like, they're problem solvers.
They're very good problem solvers. So then Graham remembers they used to pour coal in this basement. There's a coal chute in here.
Right, because it's an old house. At some point, the heat source would have been coal.
Yeah.
And it would be a coal chute.
Yeah, so...
to light the furnace in the basement.
Graham goes one direction, Meryl goes the other, and they're searching the walls for this coal chute. Which, here's the thing. What I don't understand about this part is Graham at least has been in this basement before. It's full of their old stuff. How does he not know where the coal chute is?
Yes, I agree with that.
It is a big coal chute. How does he not know where it is?
In coal chutes, there's typically an entry point. You'd probably know where that entry point is on the house.
Yeah.
Not to mention, then there would also be the outflow to vent it all out. Which we'd also know where that is, which is probably not just a small little vent. It's probably like a chimney. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're searching around like they don't know where this chute is. It takes up like half the wall. It is a big coal chute. Maybe not like half the wall, but it's a big coal chute. It's a big hole in the wall.
He's like, I feel air. Meryl's like, yeah, I feel it too. It's getting closer. And finally they see Morgan, and they both shine a flashlight.
Morgan's standing there with his back against the coal chute. Which, why was he standing right there?
Because the screenplay said he was.
And what was established earlier, what Morgan pointed out earlier was, or was it Meryl that pointed it out? Either way, the aliens can blend in with their environment.
It was Meryl. Yeah.
It was Meryl, yeah. They can change their
skin
color.
It was on the broadcast. That's how come they could not see them on the screen.
Yeah, they're like chameleons, so they can change their skin color to blend in with their surroundings.
At the screen. That's how they couldn't see them in the air, and that's, anyway. Then you see, they're staring at them with their flashlights. All of a sudden, you see this arm reach up. Right,
there's this arm just sort of draped through the grate on the chute, and it just comes over and grabs Morgan. And so then we get more.
You see the flashlights kind of roll over, and Bo kind of goes and picks one up. You hear this scrambling and this screaming, and then you see what they do is basically just pile all the dog food.
Yeah, Yeah, they get a couple boxes, a couple crates, put it on, and then pile up dog food to block the coal chute. I love it. I love it. Merrill, he puts the last bag of dog food on top of there, and he's all tired, and he sits down in front of it with his back against the stack that he just made. There's a can laying on the floor. He just grabs it, sticks it on top of the bag. Like, that'll hold it.
Oh, it needs that extra 8 ounces.
It needs that can.
He looks over, like, Graham is just kind of sitting there.
Graham is sitting, he's sitting there with Morgan on it, like he's laying across his chest.
He's like, we're going to get this together. And he's like, we don't have his medicine.
Yeah, we don't have his medicine. His medicine's upstairs.
He can't breathe.
He's having a real bad asthma attack. And so he's like, okay, Morgan, just pay attention. Just breathe with me. Feel my breath.
Feel my lungs. We're going to do this together, right? The air's coming in and out. He's being very deliberate. Like, he knows what to do in this situation.
And then he just gets this look in his eyes, and he
unloads on God.
Yeah, he unloads on God. He's like, I hate you.
Like,
don't take it from me.
Okay, he hasn't stopped believing. He just hates God.
Yeah.
And you feel it, and you understand it, and you sympathize with him. And he sells it perfectly.
He's like, "Don't do this again." Then everybody kind of goes to sleep, and
then like he gets, he's able to kind of slow things down.
He's able to slow things down just enough to get Morgan out of the weeds. Right, but
he still needs his medicine.
He still needs his medicine, but he's not out of the woods yet. But he's better than he was. And Meryl's like, we need to turn these lights off, and so they turn them off. And so they turn the flashlights off, and then then it cuts to a little time later, and Graham wakes up, and
we get a Graham dream again.
Yeah,
we get a little bit more of that.
Bit more of that night. He's walking up in his clerical collar, and everything. He's talking with Officer Paskey, with Cherry Jones.
Yes,
and she's explaining what happened.
It was an
accident. Reddy
drove off the road,
fell asleep, drove off the road, hit your wife, hit Colleen. And
that's about it. We don't get much more at that point.
Mm-hmm. And then then Graham wakes up, and the light's on, and Meryl and Bo are standing there, and Meryl's like, "We found a box of light bulbs."
Then like he turns on the radio, and like he has the radio on now. It's like saying like, "Oh yeah, like Jordan and Saudi Arabia have confirmed," and like you hear this idea like, oh yeah, like confirming like these withdrawals, and it's like Meryl's like, oh yeah, because like that's the other thing. When you get down there, like this old like radio that's there on one of the shelves in the cellar, right? Like, yeah, the radio came on about 2 hours ago. Because when they got down there, they actually turned the radio on to see if they could hear anything from the radio, but it was nothing, right?
Yeah.
But they never turned the radio off. And when the radio came on, that's what woke up Meryl. It was about two hours ago. And it woke him up, and that like we won. And he was saying like, he's A primitive way. Like he doesn't know what yet. But like they said this morning, like a mass evacuation started. Like, they're leaving.
They're leaving. Right? They've left some of their wounded behind.
But it's interesting because like earlier we talked about like, oh, it's like War of the Worlds, and like it is a lot like War of the Worlds. Like it's almost anticlimactic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all these things are happening. All of a sudden, the War of the Worlds, they just start dying. Here, they just start leaving.
Yeah. So then Meryl, before they do anything else, Meryl stops Graham, and he's like, "Last night, I saw a look in your eyes.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see that look in your eyes again. I'm serious." And that's another part where you can really.
He's like, "You're my older brother."
Feel
like,
that these two are brothers. Yeah. All right. The way that Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson act right here is just, it's
you're
fantastic.
My older brother. Like, you're everything to me. You're what I look up to. Which is, he's like, he's a grown adult. He's like, and he's telling his brother, like, I still look up to you.
Yeah.
Like, you got these kids. You're a father. I look up to you to be the dad that you are. The husband that you are, right?
Yeah, the husband that you were, the dad that you are, the brother that you are.
So, I don't want to see like they get.
Want to see that look in your eyes again.
Meryl they look down and they see Morgan down there, and
so Morgan's still unconscious.
Yeah, like we still need the medicine. And he's like, "Can I say anything about the area?" So they said Philadelphia, the counties are clear, but he knows because again, they left wounded behind.
Mm-hmm. So
sorry if you haven't watched the movie yet, but we're alluding to maybe a spoiler.
Yeah. So they're like, well, how do we know for sure? So they pull out. So Graham goes over to
Morgan
and pulls the baby monitor out of Morgan's pocket.
and it's just staticky.
And he turns it on, it's just staticky.
It's good enough for both of them.
Meryl's like, it's good enough for me. And Graham's like, me too. So, they take the kids upstairs, and Graham's carrying Morgan, and so he sends Meryl into the kitchen to get his medicine. He's like, grab the syringe, too, because we may need to give him an epinephrine
shot. Just to kind of give him that jolt, right?
So he goes in, lays Morgan down on the couch.
And he goes back into, the whole area.
Bo comes in.
And it's like, people are dancing like this.
People are doing this on TV. And she starts, moving her hips around. Like, they're dancing, huh? Yeah, they're dancing like this.
Graham's like, he looks over at Morgan's like, you want to see this? Right?
He's like, you want to see this, Morgan? And he looks over, and there's an alien standing there with Morgan in his arms.
First he goes in, and he pulls out the TV. He rolls it in.
That's right. He rolls the TV in, and you see the reflection.
And then he sees the reflection in the TV.
Yeah. The reflection.
It's like, boom.
And there's an alien cradling Morgan in one arm with his other arm kind of hovering over his chest and his face.
Right. And he's making clicking sounds, and he's got the one cradle in one arm, and the other one arm over his face. What you're saying, right? And you see the one that's you see the arm that's cradling him, and it's missing three fingers.
2 fingers. So you get sort of a flashback to Graham with a knife cutting off the alien's fingers from the pantry, and you realize it's the same one. It's the same alien. The alien's arms is kind of camouflaged. Yeah, into the shirt that he's wearing. Into the shirt that Morgan's wearing. Yeah, so that one hand is yellow plaid.
Yeah. And that's when Meryl walks in.
Meryl walks in from the kitchen. He drops the medicine on the floor, and he's just standing there shocked, just staring. And then this is when it cuts into the rest of the flashback from the crash.
Yeah.
And so you got Graham talking to Officer Paskey, and she's explaining that, Ray...
He's like, what do you know? And he's like, accident, drunk. Drives, wasn't drunk, fell asleep at the wheel. And he's like, well, is he okay? Right, and Paskey's like, that's the first thing Colleen asked too.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of smiles. He's like, oh, she's talking. He's like, what ambulance is she in?
Yeah, she's not in an ambulance. He's like, why not? Well, she's pinned.
When the truck swerved off the road, she hit Colleen in a tree and pinned them.
And right now, the truck is the only thing that's holding the two halves together.
Well, Graham's pinned, he's trying to process.
Yeah, he's like, right? Pinned? No. What do you mean pinned? She's like, well, the truck, when it hit her, it severed most of her lower half. So the truck is the only thing holding her together. So we thought about pulling it out, but we didn't want to until you were able to get here.
And then, they want her to be, they know at some point she will lose consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm, but
they wanted to wait until he could get there
we wanted
to speak to her.
To let you be able to speak to your wife in the last moments.
She's like, Father, have you understood what I've said to you? It's like, and Graham's like,
is this the last time I'm going to be able to speak with my wife? And she's like, yes.
Yes, it is. And they talk, and so, I was just taking a walk before dinner. It's like, you love walks. And she's like, I guess it was meant to be. I said, it hurt. He's like, I don't feel it. He's like, it's good.
That's good.
And he's like, then she starts talking, tell Morgan to be, play games and to be silly. And again, he's Morgan's serious.
Yeah. Tell Morgan to play games and be silly and protect his sister.
And he's like, tell Bo to listen to her brother. He'll take care of her.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tell Bo to listen to her brother. He'll take care of her. And the whole movie, he's been taking care of her.
Yes.
He's been protecting her and being a good big brother to her.
And then she's like, tell Graham. And he's like, I'm here.
I'm right here. I'm here. Tell Graham to see.
Tell him to see.
And tell Meryl.
Glazes off. Her eyes kind of glaze off a bit. And she looks back. She's like, tell Meryl.
Swing away. Tell Meryl to swing away.
What? And it confuses him, right? He's like, what? And he's like, Colleen. And she obviously
she dies. She loses consciousness and dies. And then it cuts back to the living room, and Graham is standing there. He looks over and sees Meryl standing in the kitchen doorway with the baseball bat on the wall right up by his head. He's like, Meryl.
So we swing away.
Swing away.
Meryl's like, what? And then we see back the alien. He gets all the gas thing from his wrist.
Mm-hmm. Well, the gas doesn't come yet, but so Meryl's like, what? And Graham's like, swing away. And Meryl looks over, sees the bat, and he grabs the bat. And then once he grabs the bat, that's when the alien shoots the gas out of his little wrist gas gun. His little probe out of his wrist.
Spider-Man has much better things shooting out of his wrist.
Yeah.
Than this guy.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this alien had web shooters, but it was all out, so it was just a little like fart, little wrist fart.
So Mira starts swinging at him, and then like he drops Morgan, and Graham gets Morgan and Bo. They run out of the house, but they don't run out of the house yet. Morgan hits it, like, and then knocks him back, and he hits into one of the tables that has multiple glasses of water.
Mm-hmm.
They pour over.
One of them pours over. No, one of the glasses tips over, and it sort of drips on its shoulder.
On his like shoulder, and like it burns.
It burns like acid, and so then they get the idea.
Bo and like Graham look at each other like, oh. And they pick up Morgan. They get out of the house, right? And Bo starts looking in as
Bo runs around and looks in the window.
Meryl's taking batting practice with an alien.
Yeah, swinging away.
He's swinging at them, and then he's hitting glasses and spraying water on them. And finally, he knocks him back into like a TV stand.
Yeah, knocks him into the TV, and one of the glasses from the TV tips over and falls right on its face, and we see the alien's point of view. And the water pouring down on its face. Then you see the broken bat.
He goes outside.
And Meryl comes outside with Graham and the kids, and Graham is out there with Morgan. He's like,
talk about how none of the poison got in his lungs.
The poison didn't get in his lungs. His lungs were closed. His lungs were closed. The poison didn't get in. Come on.
And I get it. You know what? If you don't like that, this is all too much of a coincidence and too neatly packed. I get it if you don't like it. But it fits with the entire vibe of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And also to Meryl and Graham's conversation on the couch, because at one point Graham is like, "Is it possible that there are no coincidences?"
Right.
But so he's
it all works.
Trying to give him his medicine. He gives him an epinephrine shot, and trying to get him to wake up. And he's sitting there crying.
While this is going on, also like Bo's like, "I dreamed this." Mm-hmm. Right, and finally he wakes up and he's like, "Dad," and
because right here, because this whole time it's a close up on Mel Gibson's face. He's crying, and you can sort of tell it's sort of the opposite of the night before.
It is.
Totally. He's not telling God that he hates him. He's
grateful.
He's grateful, and he's asking him for help.
Yeah,
he's asking him to save his son.
He wakes up and like, "Did someone save me?" And it's like, I think somebody did.
Yeah.
Like, faith has flowed back to him. His belief, and the belief in I shouldn't say belief, but the faith.
Yeah.
He believed, he hated it and had the faith, and he just severed that, and that connections back to God again in the scene. And like Joaquin Phoenix is crying. It's the culmination, the climax of this family in this moment.
Yeah.
It's so different even from that scene at the dinner table where they're all like at odds. They're trying to reach out for something, and there's just anger. Now there's this relief and love.
Yeah, so then, it cuts to, like, it shows from the inside of the house, kind of looking out the windows, and as it passes through the windows, the next window, it's winter. There's snow on the ground outside. There's a little time jump. It's actually a great contrast.
It's winter when the other part was like summer or spring, right? Now it's winter when things should be dead, but now there's life in the house.
Yeah.
Like there's pictures back on the wall. There's life in the bedroom.
The cross is back up on the wall.
And then he comes out, the bathroom, like he's just got out of a shower and he's washed up.
Yeah, Graham comes out of the bathroom.
He's got his clerics on.
Yeah, he's got his clerics on. He puts his jacket on and he walks out of the door. He walks out of the room.
That's basically the movie. It's in the movie. Like, it's a movie about faith and belief. And, it probably is right. You can fall into one of those two camps. And, now maybe you fall into one camp. You may not be a big fan of the movie. If the other, maybe you are. I don't know. It's well done regardless, in my opinion.
Now, it had been, 16, 17 years since I've seen this movie, since I've just sat down and watched it. And I forgot how good it actually is.
It really is good.
I've always enjoyed it. I've always liked it, but I've always thought of it as, it's a good movie. It's not the best Shyamalan movie. Unbreakable is the best Shyamalan movie, but it's like
poke into Shyamalan's movies.
Yeah, but it's like, it kind of falls into that. Kind of falls into that hole of there have been so many Shyamalan movies that just have been flops.
But I love how small scale this is.
But
despite having like Mel Gibson in it,
it kind of falls into the trap that was created just by the quality of a lot of the later Shyamalan movies. Like this one, where you look back of it and it kind of has that taint of the several flops that came after it.
Yes. When the Phil is just the one that kind of started that thing, and now like this kind of got grouped in
Yeah.
I think part of it is like, as people thought about it, one of the main complaints is like, if the weakness is water, why do they come to Earth?
Yeah.
But they kind of get into the point like, okay, they deliberately avoided the water.
Yes.
And the point was not to so much use the resources, but it's to harvest us.
Yes, it was to harvest the people.
So the idea was just to get down there as quickly as possible, get as many people as they could to harvest, and leave. Like, it could make sense. It actually could make sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get other people thinking about the whole sign and fate aspect. You know, okay, if you want to criticize that, that's fine. You know, and it's funny. It's not. I mean, it's a movie that does have reveals, but it doesn't rely on a twist.
Yeah.
In the way,
if there's a twist, if there's a twist, it would be just the fact that water is like acid to them.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's not a twist in the same way of
it's not like
Willis being dead
the whole time.
You know, I actually picked up on that before the reveal.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the 6th, not long before the reveal, that actually sells it. But anyway, or Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze.
Dude, quit spoiling all these other movies. but yes, but anyway, so like, even looking back at it, because it's been so long since I've seen it, you know, what last several years when I look back on this movie, I would see it through that lens. Through the, you know, I enjoyed the movie. It was a good movie, but it still has that sort of taint to it. But, you know, rewatching it today, I forgot how good it actually is.
It is very good. And part of it is, we touched a lot on the acting, but earlier we talked about some of the technical aspects of it too.
Yeah.
I think that's good thing to go back into it, because like, if you looked at purely from that point of view in terms of how it's constructed, you know, it sets up the setting right away for the house. But the interior and exterior of it, they have all your kind of set pieces of the house, got the music, and establishes right away there's a threat. Like, that's where the suspense comes in. Like, this is very Hitchcockian. Like you kind of understand there is a threat, but then like there's other people that may not know that that's coming.
Yeah.
So your suspense is what's going to actually happen, and that's what happens here. It's like you're trying to figure out what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Mel Gibson goes in the woods. You know there's something potentially out there. You don't know what exactly it is or what its motives are, or if it's even going to show up at all in that scene.
But
right?
You know it's out there somewhere.
And you've already established, like, they've chased one already, right? They've seen all these clips. He's trying to convince himself that it's just his buddy's son. Yeah. It's not. I wonder if he died. Well, I don't.
Maybe.
He probably did.
Probably.
He's stupid. He was out doing something stupid.
I wonder if the recruiter died.
No, he didn't die.
Yeah, he was badass.
The bookstore owner, he probably had some space in the middle of there they could never get to. So
no, he probably just had a bunch of cans of Shasta.
And then the lady that about the skateboard just spat on them.
Yeah, that's how they found out they were susceptible to water.
She had a cold. She hocked a loogie on this thing. He knows what Cherry Jones was, but anyway. Yeah. No, it's so good because like it establishes a mood and like again, I get back to the point. Like,
and it handles the whole crisis of faith thing so well.
Yes, because it is something that would happen within such an event. Yeah, and again, it tells the perspective of just one family dealing with this.
Yes,
it's funny. Like in some ways, it's a little bit like War of the Worlds. They show up, and you see what happens. But like War of the Worlds is kind of different. You know, it's like you get like they're in a city when it happens, and they leave and so forth. You don't get the finally got kind of get a perspective from the countryside. But Mel Gibson's great.
What I loved about this movie that I really didn't pay much attention to until this viewing of it, but they handle all this stuff happening actually quite realistically. How people would actually react to it. Yes. When they hear the bangs on the door or they see the alien standing there with Morgan in its arm, they freeze. Yeah. Well, I'm glad he brought this up because I was trying to read I read something about it the other day, and someone was kind of like saying like, oh, it's just, oh yeah, they've seen, I forget the adjectives, but I like them because like, no, like that, it's really how you would actually react. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
Something like
you're
that.
not going to be all gung ho like, let's take these things out. You know, and as soon as you, like, yeah, maybe some people would be, but the average person, you know, you could talk a big talk. You know, if these aliens show up on my property, I'll go out there, I'll take them all out. But when they actually show up,
all of it.
you're gonna be in shock.
The entire situation, like, okay, we're confused about what happened with our crops, right? And you kind of get into the TV and like watching that, and like even how they react to that, and like just the diving into it,
glued to the TV.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's
the next part, like, okay, the same thing that happened after 9/11.
Right. And then, like, then you get the scene.
Everybody's glued to the TV.
When they're boarding up.
Trying to get whatever updates they could get.
Like, okay, now there's an urgency to it. And not thinking much about it. Like, all right, we're going to do what we need to do. But even that really, like, take that, like, reprieve. Like, okay, let's just eat something, actually. Like, may not be going on, but, like, you know, it's, you know, I think that, like, there's a leadership aspect in that. It's like, you know what? And they followed. Because, like, yeah, that was going on. Like, I'd probably want to, like, you know what? I'm going to find the thing I really want to eat in this house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I have to, I'll shit on this thing. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
He walks up to him. And just shuts the door, please. I'm not dealing with this.
No, it wasn't walking in on him. It was walked by, just opened the door and kept walking.
Gives you enough time to escape.
Because Steve's door was open across the hall.
And that's when when you come in, you just shove his face into the toilet like Big Lebowski.
Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski?
Water kills it, and you know, and Tim's Taco Bell kills it. I forget what he was eating that evening. We'll just call it Taco Bell. Anyway. Oh, right. Different direction.
We were doing so well, too.
No, but yeah, it's such an honest, realistic way they like approach it. And again, like this kudos Mel Gibson on it. Like you could tell, like, you know, he's just someone that's trying to hold it all together. And it's just, to him, it's just another slap in the face. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to, you know, be there for his kids, even though, like, it's, he just, you know, he's fatalistic about it, essentially. Yeah. You know, he understands, like, you know, God's going to exist and he's just going to allow this to happen, and that's it. Until it doesn't happen, and that's what kickstarts his faith again. Yeah. So it's the entire situation. It's like, from all of them, they just take it as it comes. And, you know, there's even, you know, small moments of levity in this situation that's kind of crazy, that they're trying to deal with the best that they can. And, like, it's funny, like, it almost feels small budget type of movie in a way, because there is so few scenes of, like, what, you know, it's basically two main set pieces: the house and then this, you know, town, right? Yeah.
And it was fitting that the bat that Meryl used to fight the alien, it was the record-breaking bat.
And he eats the crap out of the alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. But yeah, so that's Signs.
That's Signs.
Got anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Yeah. No. Yeah, I was going to rewatch it because it's been a while. Yeah. And
me too. I'm glad we did this one.
It's funny because it felt like it hadn't been a while, but it probably had. But it has been a while, and yeah, I did it. It's funny because, like, takes a look back at a very different M. Night Shyamalan, where, you know, just kind of before that change. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like feels almost low budget type of movie. Works really, really well. Yep.
Yeah, so that's Signs, folks. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. It's Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The "and" is spelled out A-N-D, not an ampersand like in the name of the podcast. Then we are also on X or Twitter. That is R&T Cinematic. We are on Letterboxd. If you have a Letterboxd account and you want to see our reviews on different movies, some of them are movies that we've done on the podcast, some we haven't done. Some of them we might not do. Some of them we may do in the future. Either way, if you want to see what we think about different movies, check us out on Letterboxd. It is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, CINE Adventure. And if you want to send us an email, it's Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure at gmail.com. And once again, the and is spelled out A-N-D. It's not an ampersand. But yeah, shoot us an email. Let us know what you think of the show. If there's any movies that you think we should do, let us know about those too.
Right.
What did you think of Signs? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you, what are your thoughts?
Is there an M. Night Shyamalan movie that's not Signs, Unbreakable, or Sixth Sense that you really like?
Are you a huge fan of The Happening?
No.
Are you a huge fan of Devil, the elevator movie?
That was he wrote that one. He didn't direct it.
Oh, he wrote that one? Yeah, okay.
Or he produced it.
Well, either way, anyway. He was involved in it.
He was involved.
But anyway, let us know what you think.
Looks like the old Hansel and Gretel type movie.
Yeah.
There was one of those too. I think that was the one he didn't direct, but he produced. His daughter came out with a movie recently, by the way.
Oh yeah, she did. But yeah, so if you like the show, then go to our social medias, give us a like and a follow. Go to your favorite podcast app, give us a good review if you enjoy it, and a good rating, good review. That's how we get moved up in the standings and in the search and all that stuff, so we can reach more ears and so we can try to find some more people that just want to hear us talk about movies.
I forgot. There's a Will Smith movie. After Earth.
Yes, After Earth. That is a Shyamalan movie.
And The Visit, which is an actual Shyamalan movie. That was the Hansel and Gretel. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Leave a comment.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know what you think. And so next week, we're going to do something fun. So for the next episode, we are doing a sequel. We did the original movie just before we started our summer blockbuster series.
It was not technically a summer blockbuster because it was early May.
It was early May. It was not. It was before Memorial Day. So now we are doing the next movie in that series, the one that just came out. Yeah, that's right. We are doing a movie that is still in theaters, folks. We wanted to wait a few weeks to give everybody a chance to go see it if you haven't seen it yet. But next we are going to be doing Twisters. So the follow-up to the 1996 Twister.
I'm excited about this because I know even before we start the summer blockbuster, we talked about, should we do Barbie or Oppenheimer or do both of them? Because they're such a force together. And we could have done them within this series, and we haven't done them yet. So no, I'm glad that we're doing kind of separating the sequel off, right? Mm-hmm. But there's something that's very recent. And again, it's kind of hard to do a good recent blockbuster these days. We kind of talked about that last week with Inception. Because so many things are kind of, sequels are part of a franchise or something else that's been established. We could do Iron Man, but that's been established, and that's building off of the success of recent superhero movies and the comic itself. And everything that's flowed since then has obviously, mostly been sequels or a part of a franchise. Yeah. So something that's, again, this is a sequel, but it's different. So I'm excited to do it. Actually get back into that.
Me too. But yeah, so we're going to be doing Twisters. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, you still got some time before that episode comes out. So get to the theater and see it. But join us next time for Twisters. We will see you then.